Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports time. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. It's time to get up and get your day started. Morant. It's Sports 56 mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Now, here are your hosts, Greg and Eli.
Welcome in, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Time for another edition of Sports 56 Mornings on this Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Elijah Seegers with you from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, it is where family and fun come together. If you haven't checked them out yet, what are you waiting for? 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40, the world's biggest spa sale continues at Family Leisure. On the program today, Connor O'Gara joins us in approximately 25 minutes to talk college football, specifically the SEC, another big weekend in the Southeastern Conference. And then at 9:25, speaking of the Southeastern Conference, Ole Miss back in action after a bye week. They will take on the reeling Oklahoma Sooners at Vaught Hemingway. We'll talk with Brad Logan and preview that game as Ole Miss is now in a situation where they have to win out to have a chance to go to the playoffs. Another loss would cripple those chances. In between, we got Humdinger's Trivia. That'll come your way at approximately 8:05. We got plenty of basketball news to get to. Both the Grizzlies and the start of the NBA season, which begins today with two games. 6:30 tonight, the Knicks and the Celtics. The defending champion Boston Celtics will host on TNT. And then the doubleheader on TNT will feature the Timberwolves at the Lakers for the nightcap. The Grizzlies begin tomorrow in Salt Lake City against Utah. We'll talk about their status for the game from a health standpoint. Also, the Memphis Tigers in the news. Basketball, the drama continues. We'll give you the latest on the Tyreek Smith situation and really what can be done about trying to fix NIL. NIL is here to stay, but how can you fix it? We will talk about that and get your thoughts on that as well. Monday Night Football, two games last night that we'll talk about. The AP preseason All-American men's basketball team is out. We'll go over that. And as I said, the NFL, Monday Night Football, and a barrage of injuries as it continues to mount for teams in the National Football League. We got some Major League Baseball news to get to as well as we count down towards the World Series, which opens up on Friday in L.A. with the Dodgers and the Yankees. We'll take your calls and texts on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. That is your lineup for this Tuesday morning. How are you?
I am fantastic.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you watch one game, two game, no games last night?
I watched both games.
You watched both?
Yes, indeed.
I just didn't want to fire up Plus. I just watched the one game. The Bucks, the Ravens. That was a strange game. It opened up with the, as you know, with the Buccaneers looking like they were going to run the Ravens out of the building. They looked great that first quarter. And then the Ravens said, not so fast, my friends. They have speed to burn with Derrick Henry still doing it. And obviously Lamar Jackson, who threw for 5 touchdowns. We'll talk more about both those Monday night games a little bit later on and the injuries that are just piling up. Speaking of injuries, let's begin with the NBA. The Grizzlies, they open tomorrow. And lo and behold, news that we did not want to hear from yesterday, even though it is not serious, but Jaren Jackson Jr. will not play tomorrow night. Thought he was ready to go. Thought they'd have the full array of players with the exception of, G.G. Jackson, Vince Williams, and possibly Luke Kennard. But the full array of the starters. Not the case.
Yeah, it's I don't know why the Grizzlies.
The hits keep on coming?
I don't know why the Grizzlies can't have nice things. I have to believe, I guess, at this point that he'll be ready to go for the home opener, although with the Grizzlies, anytime they keep backing stuff up, you always get a little bit worried. Because, again, Steven Adams was out for 5 weeks, turned into season and a half.
Turned into he was on the side of the milk carton.
Turned out to be an 18-month injury that was supposed to be a 5-week injury. I assume, yes, Jared will be ready, but they've said all along, no, going to be ready for the opener, and then he's not ready for the opener. It's like, I just don't.
Are they just overly cautious as an organization? I mean, I know everybody's cautious, especially in basketball, it seems like, but it seems to me like the Grizzlies overdo it. I'm not in the room. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical personnel. I don't know. But it just seems like every injury, hangnail, 2 to 4 weeks will be reexamined. What? I mean, I thought for sure. I was talking about it yesterday. Oh, even though Jaren did not play on Friday in the last preseason game against Miami, he'll be ready to go in Salt Lake City. Nope.
I mean, obviously, there's no reason to if you don't believe he's 100% ready to go, there's no need to push the envelope. There's 82 of these things. Last thing you want to do is put him out there and he re-aggravates it, and you have issues. So I guess you just have to believe that they just don't quite believe he's fully ready yet, and a few more days will make sure that he is, and they believe will avoid any further aggravation of that injury and cause him to miss any more serious time. So it is what it is. I mean, we're used to watching the Grizzlies shorthanded, so we'll watch the Grizzlies shorthanded for these first couple of games, and obviously we'll continue to be shorthanded with those other guys that you mentioned. But even with this starting lineup, maybe the starting lineup is just destined to never play together.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know. Like, at this point, who knows? Maybe they will just never ever play together.
In case you don't know what the
Taylor
injury
Swift
is.
once sang about that. Never ever play together.
In case you don't know what the injury is, it's a hamstring injury. Now, the word is that this is more of a conditioning thing. In other words, the hamstring's almost healed, but because he hasn't played, he's not ready to go this opening game. They're going to give him a little more time, as Eli just said, to be 100% ready to go. Now, here's the thing. They have Houston. Is Houston Thursday or Friday?
Houston is...
Do they open back-to-back on the road?
Houston is on Friday.
Okay.
The back-to-back is Friday, Saturday.
So maybe he'll be ready to go in Houston on Friday.
Well, there's no way they're going to play him a back-to-back right off the bat, so they'll save it for the home game.
Well, you got Orlando at home. Not that Orlando's, but look, nothing's a gimme in the NBA. But I think Houston's going to be really good. I'd rather have Jackson play against Houston than Orlando if that was the case and he can only play the one game. But either way, I talked about this on the show yesterday. The schedule to open the season is not daunting, so it's extremely important, I think, for the Grizzlies to get off to a good start. Now, you're hoping that they will find chemistry and cohesiveness right off the bat from guys that really did not play together much last year, and Zach Edey's a new addition. But you have Utah on the road. Yes, it's a road game. Memphis seems to play better on the road than they do at home. But the Jazz aren't expected to be one of the better teams in the West. Houston, I think, is going to be a really interesting team. And then you have Orlando on Saturday. So it is your opportunity to open up quickly. Can they do it without Jackson? Sure they can. Santi Aldama started on Friday, hit 5 of 7 threes, looked great. But he's one of the leaders. He's one of your defensive stalwarts. Aldama can rebound the ball, but he's not as fierce a shot blocker and an intimidator like Jackson is. He doesn't move like Jackson. And that puts more, I don't want to call it pressure in one of 82 games, but it puts more focus on Edey being able to do those things defensively that you miss without having Tripp in there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you would love to have it. This is the reverse of last year. The guys who were healthy last year start the season hurt this year. All the guys that were hurt last year start the season healthy. And it's, I mean, and the one thing, so when it happened, like hamstring injuries, you want to make sure they are healed and he is absolutely ready to go because those are things that can linger. It doesn't, a little aggravation here or there, and that's the last thing you want to deal with. So get him his health, make sure he's ready to go and fully healthy. And again, 82 games. If you miss the first couple, so what? Just don't miss the 3-week stretch of games because you aggravate that injury or whatever. And if you have to deal with 2 games, and again, they're certainly more than capable of winning those games without Jaren Jackson Jr. You still got a pretty darn good lineup out there.
And you should.
With Ja Morant leading the way and Desmond Bain. Like, you've got to – it's not like, oh, gosh, Jaren's out. How can we win? This isn't like last year when you had Jaren and nobody else. This is pretty much everybody else and not Jaren.
Ja, Dez, Smart, Edie, even a depleted bench with Brandon Clark hopefully getting back to – some closeness to what he was before the injury. That's a team that should be able to beat Utah on the road. Doesn't mean they're going to. Utah's still talented, even though I don't have them in the playoffs. But like I said, it's a schedule that you should be able to start quickly if you're going to make noise this year. And most people believe that if the Grizzlies can stay relatively healthy with their top-line players, they will make noise. By the way, Bobby Marks yesterday on Jaren Jackson Jr. said Jackson and the team will revisit extension talks next offseason.
Well, they can't do anything until next offseason now.
Okay.
They missed the deadline yesterday, so now he cannot. He can't sign anything until after the first day after the NBA Finals wrap up is the next time that he could possibly sign any sort of extension or anything like that.
Well, I think that's the right thing to do. That's the proper thing to do. There's no need to rush into giving him that extra. He's already got a big deal to sign the extension. You want to see what this core is going to do. We always talk about the window. And yesterday at the end of the show, I mentioned that the opening day rosters are set and Memphis is the 7th youngest team in the NBA. So they are still, obviously, youthful. But that window isn't wide open. And other teams around the West are getting better. Other teams around the league are getting better. And other teams are getting younger as well. So they need to seize this opportunity over the next couple of years. After that, then you start to question whether or not the core is the right core. So this is going to be a very important year, I think, for Taylor Jenkins. You have the new offense installed with these new coaches that have been at it. You took a shot with Edie. Edie, the conversation, for the most part, did not surround Edie until late in the time period right before the draft. Then people started to talk themselves into Edie. It may be a brilliant, brilliant decision. It may not. So there's pressure on him. There's pressure on these guys just to stay healthy. Best ability is availability. This is a big year, I think, for the Grizzlies. And I think, again, if they can stay healthy with their core, why can't they be one of the best teams in the West again? But they have to not only do it in the regular season, they have to be able to do it in the postseason. It brings me back to last night watching Lamar Jackson, which we'll talk about. He is one of the most incredible regular season players in the history of the game. He is on target to possibly win a 3rd regular season most valuable player. He's 2-4 in the postseason. You are judged on what you do in the postseason. You are judged on championships. Now, Dan Marino was an incredible quarterback. He's still looked at as one of the greats, but he's not in that upper echelon. So Lamar Jackson, same deal. Well, that's the point about every athlete out there. What did you do to help your team have success? Not just what you've done individually. Tonight, you got 2 NBA games, as I mentioned, to open the season. Knicks, Celtics, Timberwolves, Lakers. That Knicks roster, up and down, as deep as any roster in the NBA, I I think the Knicks are the team to beat in the East this year over the Celtics. I mean, they're both. It's like 1A, 1B. But I think it's the Knicks. That addition
I'll take the Celtics.
That addition of Karl Anthony Towns, Brunson is just a hard-nosed stud. You got Anunoby. You got so much talent on that Knicks team. I am really looking forward to watching that team this year. Of course, talent-wise, Celtics are right there as well. And then in the West tonight, you got the Timberwolves. They were on the other side of that Knicks trade with Randall, with Cat gone. What does it do for that team? They were good. Will they be the same? Will they be better? And then there's the Lakers. They're not getting any younger. But LeBron last year had a great year. And now he's going to play a little bit with his son. I'm not sure how much Bronny plays, but he's there. And maybe he doesn't need to be invigorated because he's never lost it. So he's going to be ready to go. I just don't know if the Lakers have enough. Dalton Connect's going to be a fun player to watch. Austin Reeves is a good player. They have good role players. And Anthony Davis stayed healthy last year. They still weren't good enough, even with a healthy Anthony Davis, who's not getting any younger. But this is probably their swan song. This is probably their last chance to do anything. I'm not sure if they'll get anything done as far as making the playoffs. I think they have a good chance to be in the postseason as a play-in. But in the top six, I don't know. But tonight we get our first look at the Lakers and the Timberwolves.
And the Griffies will be in attendance.
I saw that. That's pretty cool.
My favorite part about tonight is going to be when they bring in Bronny at whatever time in order to get the whole history out of the way, but then afterwards act like that was just normal part of the rotation and that he should be playing, that he's like that he is a part of the rotation.
Who knows? I mean, everything I said would happen has happened. I would not be shocked whatsoever. All of a sudden tonight, in the starting lineup, Bronny James.
And obviously you got J.J. Redick coaching his first game. So
yeah,
see how that goes.
For those who still don't believe that LeBron James calls the shots with that organization, I don't know what planet you live on. He calls the shots. He may not be the owner of the team. Everything goes through him. And it's going to be interesting, that dynamic with J.J. Redick and LeBron James, when things go off kilter, what that's going to be like. But, yeah, it's, hey, more power to Bronny. He's there.
No, he does not need more power. last thing he needs is more power.
So it's funny you mentioned the Griffies are there. You know, Ken Griffey Sr. was a really good baseball player. Really good baseball player. Ken Griffey Jr. is one of the greatest baseball players. LeBron James, certainly in the argument for the best of all time. I think you believe he is. I believe he's second.
I don't.
No? Okay. But there's a lot of people that
never
do.
said that.
So you're an MJ guy. Okay.
Always have been.
All right. Bronny James, no chance to be in any of those categories. I mean, again, Ken Griffey Sr., for those who remember, was a really good player. Bronny James, I don't get it. I do get it because I called the shot. But he would stun the world if all of a sudden he became a rotation player that actually contributed. For a guy that averaged 5 points a game at USC. But daddy's daddy. And that's going to be a storyline, unfortunately, you're going to hear about an awful lot this season. But you'll probably end up seeing him in the G League.
I would expect that I'll see him quite a bit.
By the way, speaking of the G League and the hustle, the Grizzlies made some moves over the weekend, cutting players like Armando Bacot. What's the situation with them playing for the hustle? Do they have to now go through waivers? How's that all work?
Theoretically, they could sign with another team if another team wanted them, but they're not going to. It's all Exhibit 10 deals. They'll go to the hustle and play for the hustle and make extra money because they're on Exhibit 10 deals.
Has any team got a two-way left? Do you know?
I don't know who all does, but I'm sure, yes, there are teams with two-way spots available. So
Right.
there were a few that got signed yesterday, so I don't know how many exact two-way spots are available.
But it's possible. It's possible that a team could sign one of those guys.
Yeah, theoretically,
just
yes.
let go
they're
by the Grizzlies.
They're free agents, yeah. I mean, they're...
But you're sure that those guys, if they don't get picked up by any other NBA team, they're not going to go sign internationally? They're going to play for the hustle?
I'm not positive of that, but that's the whole reason they were in camp was because they're on Exhibit 10 contracts. I mean, these guys weren't here to make the team. They were here as Exhibit 10 deals.
Well, I thought they were here to showcase their talents, maybe for some other team to pick them up, or even an international league to look at them and go, hey, that guy's really good. He's not going to play in the NBA. So, anyway, when does that have to be finalized, their roster?
Their camp starts late next week.
Late next week? Okay. All right.
And then they start the season the following week. They start on the 8th, 9th, that weekend. Mm-hmm. So they've got a week camp. They'll set their roster, and they'll be ready to go.
Shoot 360 Memphis, they're always ready to go. They're ready to help you become a better shooter of the basketball, a better all-around basketball player. Shoot 360 Memphis is a revolutionary basketball training facility that combines cutting-edge technology with gamification, provides instant objective feedback with hands-on, one-on-one expert coaching. They have 2 locations here in the greater Memphis area. They are in Collierville, and they are now in Cordova with their newly renovated 50,000 square foot facility. Again, you're getting the best coaching. You're having fun in doing it. There's the gamification aspect of it. And then they have leagues and things of that nature. So if you're a coach of a team and you're looking for a place to not only practice but become, like I mentioned, better shooters of the basketball, this is a system that a guy named Steph Curry uses. And that's the truth. So if you're looking to do that, you have a son or a daughter, grandson, granddaughter, any relative, or a good friend, you want to give them a nice early Christmas gift, well, give them a membership to Shoot 360 Memphis, and they do so monthly. If you want a tour, you want to find out more about them, all you have to do is call them. They'll be very happy to show you the facilities. In Cordova, 901-779-3176. In Collierville, 901-316-5500. Or you can just go online and sign up at Shoot 360 Memphis. Again, the transition to monthly memberships means you're not bogged down with a long-term membership. It's where the preps and pros go to get their shot on the future of basketball training right here at Shoot 360 Memphis. When we come back, Connor O'Gara on college football and on the SEC specifically. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
We are Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wallow said hello.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to slow it down and get it going slower. iSurvey is proven to slow GA progression. iSurvey or avacincaptad Paygo is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. iSurvey can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. iSurvey may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about iSurvey today. Visit iSurvey.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
I've got him on the line, Jason, the main man marshal at Gossett Volkswagen on the bike. Hey, give me the lowdown, Jason.
Here's what's really low down. Interest rates. All 2024 Volkswagen Tiguan's now 0% for 60 months.
0% for 60 months available on every 2024 Tiguan. That's awesome. What else you got?
Randy, all peak condition Atlas is now $5,000 off MSRP.
A whopping $5,000 off MSRP on all peak edition Atlases. Hey, what else you got?
Right now, take your pick for 2024 Taos SE or 2024 Jetta SE, $289 a month.
Taos SE or Jetta SE, $289 a month. Wow, Jason, the main man marshal, you got it going on.
And remember, at Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike, no reasonable offer will be refused.
That's Gossett Volkswagen 1875 Covington Pike. Online, GossettDWMemphis.com.
Where we're charging for it and charging less every day.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. It's trying to pick up just a bit coming in from Fayette County on 40 westbound from 269 here at Chambers Chapel all the way up to Sycamore View Road as it tries to build southbound on Ossipee Highway, getting on that ramp to I-40. Still looks good over here, I-40 at the 101 connector as you come past Watkins. Hey, Vet Tech Workshop for Teens are back at the Humane Society of Memphis Shelby County. If your child is interested in veterinarian medicine, check out the Vet Tech Workshop coming up this Saturday at 10:30. Log on to memphisHumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings.
Good morning.
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 7:27 the time. Hour one here on this Tuesday edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers broadcasting live and in Technicolor from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. It is time to talk some college football with Connor O'Gara.
It's time to talk some SEC and college football. Joining Greg and Eli is Connor O'Gara from SaturdayDownSouth.com and SaturdayTradition.com. Here's Connor O'Gara with Greg and Eli.
We are fortunate enough to talk to Connor O'Gara every other Tuesday right here on this program. Of course, as Mr. Announcer Man said, you can read all his great stuff at Saturday Down South and Saturday Tradition. You can follow him on Twitter at CJ O'Gara. He joins us now. Good morning, Connor.
Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing
Good.
fantastic. Is Alabama playing an elimination game against Missouri this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess you can call it that. I don't think either one of these teams, even if they sneak into the playoff, have a chance to win a national championship. So I've kind of put them both on the back burner, despite what their records would indicate. And, you know, Alabama sitting there with 2 losses, you know, there are 7 SEC teams with 1 or fewer losses in conference play. And so I don't look at this as all of a sudden like, you know what, the winner of this game, they've got a really good chance, and we need to be talking about how good they are. Instead, it's kind of more about how disappointing these two teams have been. And Mizzou has, you know, been able to get to this point with just 1 loss, and that's great. But I don't know. It feels like a very different type of vibe than what you would probably just glean from looking at their records.
It does, but my question would be, what went wrong in Tuscaloosa, and what has been the reaction from the Alabama faithful?
all the Alabama faithful is patient. They're like, you know what, we got to give this guy
like all fan bases are.
Right, yeah, that second loss, it doesn't really hit. It doesn't really register until, like, I don't know, mid-March or something. No. It's very clear this is a different era of Alabama football. And if you didn't think so after the Vandy game, you certainly thought so after the Tennessee game, which, I'll be honest, like, I'm a big Kalen DeBoer supporter. I do think that he's got the right temperament for that job. But that was, in my opinion, a game that Alabama wins with Nick Saban still as its head coach. And that was a really tough pill to swallow when you see the decisions that were made down the stretch where it's 4th and 22 after Alabama commits its 15th penalty of the game, a play in which, in my opinion, should have been offsetting unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. I don't know how that was just a penalty on Alabama, but 4th and 22 and you dial up a screen? What? And yeah, Ryan Williams, if he makes that block, it's open and it's the right play call and it looks genius, but still, like, the degree of difficulty to throw it 16 yards behind the sticks on a play, 4th and 22 in your own territory instead of punting it away. I just was kind of baffled at some of the decisions. Jalen Miller throwing the football 45 times. Like, I spent all offseason saying he's not Michael Penix, and they're not going to treat him like that. But in that game, it felt like they were trying to make him Michael Penix. And you know what? It just wasn't necessarily there. And so that's, I think, the shortcoming of this coaching staff is seeing that they still don't really know who they are yet at this point of the season. And Kalen DeBoer, for the first time, felt like he was searching for answers after this game.
If I'm not mistaken, before the season, did you say that you thought Georgia and Texas would end up playing 3 times this year?
That's correct, Eli. That is exactly correct.
Do you still believe that?
I think there's a pretty good chance. 3 was always going to be tough, right? Like I was kind of rolling the dice a little bit on that call, but to think of them playing in an SEC championship isn't crazy. I mean, in theory, all it would take is another loss for the winner of A&M and LSU, which I think if A&M loses, if A&M wins this game and then loses to Texas, and then 3-way tie would be like Georgia, A&M, and Texas, I think it would end up being Georgia and Texas, but I'd have to get into the weeds with the SEC tiebreakers, and Lord knows I'm not capable of doing that just yet. But I do think that there is a really distinct possibility of that happening with what Texas still does well, because despite the fact that game was so humbling for the number 1 team in America, their defense can still win them a national championship, and I firmly believe that. Now, they've got issues to address on offense. That offensive line that we thought was one of the best in college football, clearly they got to go back to the drawing board, but I still look at that and go, yeah, these are 2 teams that could, once again, play in Atlanta and play in a college football playoff scenario, because it just felt like a top 5 showdown. And while Georgia was certainly the better team, I wouldn't necessarily write off Texas just yet.
So what do you think about Saturday in Nashville? Will a goalpost be walked down Broadway again?
Probably not. Probably not, but golly, can you bet against Diego Pavia at this point? What that kid has done in such short order there in Nashville is one of the stories of the year in college football. We've had a good time with it, and for those of us that cover the Southeastern Conference closely, the amount of times in which we could talk about Vandy not being tongue-in-cheek, it is so few and far between. And so to see this rise, where they are going into this as a top 25 team, and they Texas's first SEC road game is against a top 25 Vandy team. Let that reality sink in. Nobody would have predicted that. And at the same time, we're kind of looking at this matchup despite the fact that Texas is once again a 3-score favorite going, guys, don't sleep on this. This is Diego Pavia. He's, the only player in the last 20 years to win as an outright dog, as a 3-touchdown underdog 3 different times in his career. So why should we rule out the possibility of them beating Texas? This year kind of sets up for it. I'm still picking Texas to win that football game, but
Sure.
If Diego Pavia does Diego Pavia things, I don't think anybody should be surprised at this point.
Did the game against Georgia, did it expose some issues for Texas, or was it just Georgia's defense is that good?
I think both. And Georgia's defense had not been that good. Georgia's defense played that well. And there is still the possibility that could be the outlier performance for Georgia's defense, which came into that game 54th in the country, I believe, in yards per carry allowed, and was looking like the least gap disciplined Kirby Smart team that we have seen since year one, 2016. And so for that group to play as well as it did on Saturday night, I mean, certainly you tip your cap to Georgia. You're reminded this could be the standard in college football. But I think the issues that it exposed with Texas is, man, what does it look like when this offensive line is struggling? Because I thought early on they were the group that was most overwhelmed. And then as you kind of look at it, he's making decisions that he just doesn't typically make, where he can't even read the corner blitz. A week earlier against Oklahoma, that was kind of the key sequence where he perfectly reads the corner blitz. He hits Ryan Wingo in on the slant in space, and then boom, it's kind of off to the races after that 7-3 start. But I see this Texas team as a group that needs to figure out who it is offensively, because you can overcome injuries to a certain extent, but they needed more out of their backfield. They needed more out of their offensive line. They can't have an Isaiah Bond injury. Like, they had a lot of things coming up, besides the fact that, oh, by the way, they switched to Arch Manning in the middle of the second quarter of this one. So I think there are some fair questions, some long looks in the mirror that are being done by the Texas offense.
Connor O'Gara joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line, the national columnist for Saturday Down South and the host of the Saturday Down South podcast. Oklahoma will be in our region of the country this weekend to take on Ole Miss in Oxford. Ole Miss coming off a bye week. I'm looking at the Sooner schedule. They're sitting at 4-3 after getting blitzed by South Carolina. Ole Miss, they got Maine, so they'll win that game. That'll be a fifth win. At Missouri, bye week. Alabama at LSU. It's not even a shoo-in. They get the 6 wins.
Greg, I asked that question on Sunday's pod. I said, guys, are we sure Oklahoma's going to a bowl game? And then a few hours later, we find out that Seth Luttrell was fired as offensive coordinator, and that's a guy who won a national championship there. I mean, he didn't finish second in the Heisman Trophy voting a la Josh Heupel, but that's a guy who came back to his alma mater after he was, in my opinion, wrongfully fired at North Texas, and kind of was following the Mike Bobo path. Was an offensive analyst last year, and then he gets to be the internal promotion and take over for Jeff Lebby, and they felt really good about him. But guys, it could not be worse. And I realized he was dealt a difficult hand with those issues at receiver, and the fact that they're still without their top 5 receivers. But to think that they are right now at Oklahoma 133rd in FBS in scrimmage plays of 20 yards. They're 132nd in yards per play. This is Oklahoma. This is a top 10 recruiting program. Like, this is not necessarily a team that, even if they deal with quarterback issues, you ever expect them to go through stretches like this. It is no guarantee that they go to a bowl game. I compared this Ole Miss matchup to, like, when you're on a flight and you go through this stretch of turbulence and you think that you have a few seconds where finally the turbulence, you're like, oh, it's gone. And then you realize you're only about a third of the way through it. That's what it's going to be like going from the South Carolina defensive line to this Ole Miss defensive line. And I feel for Oklahoma fans who are going to have to watch this, because it could get really, really ugly on Saturday.
You talked about the Alabama, their performance. The other side of that game with Tennessee, again, a scoreless first half in which they just made a comedy of errors to make sure they didn't score with the turnovers and the missed field goals. But where do you think Tennessee's offense stands right now?
Does Dylan Sampson, can he stand? Because that's where it stands. And he couldn't stand for a lot of that first half, and that's perhaps why you saw the third consecutive goose egg. By the way, that hadn't happened since the John F. Kennedy administration. A few weeks pre-assassination. I made sure to look that one up. But here's the thing. They are entirely Dylan Sampson dependent. And I don't mean to discredit Deshaun Bishop, who's really shown some nice things as a true freshman in that backfield. They are Dylan Sampson in a cloud of dust. And Dylan Sampson, for my money, is one of the most valuable players in all of college football for that exact reason. You could tell once he got Michael's secret sauce, whatever it was, at halftime, to be able to kind of get back up and get off the mat, get going in the second half, that was a different offense because he finishes runs. And when Nico is still struggling to hit on the deep ball, guys, it's basically the Joe Milton offense. I mean, that's really where Tennessee is at. And so that's the issue. Now, to be 2-1 in that stretch where you have 3 consecutive scoreless first halves is unreal. And if Tim Banks doesn't get a head coaching job out of the year that he has had at Tennessee, I'll be stunned, because that guy's been incredible for what this group has been. They don't win that game, obviously, without him, but yeah, this Tennessee offense, it is just stuck in the mud too many times. And yes, Nico makes some nice throws. He made some nice throws down the stretch, but it is stunning to see kind of where this group is at in 3 consecutive weeks.
Tim Banks, one-time Memphis assistant coach. All right, Connor, even though we have a long way to go, right now on October 22nd, who is the player of the year in the conference?
Player of the year in the conference. Man, that is really, really difficult.
Is it Pavia? Is it Nussmeier? I mean, I brought those two guys up yesterday. I mean, they've been maybe the most consistent quarterbacks we've seen.
Diego Pavia would get a vote. Diego Pavia would absolutely get a vote. If we're talking most valuable, he would get my vote right now. I mean, there's just no way that Vandy's doing what it's doing without Diego Pavia. I mean, I went back and looked it up. I think they only have had 5 pre-November wins, like 7 times in program history. If they get a 6th win by beating Texas, which is a sentence I can't even believe I'm saying, they will have clinched bowl eligibility pre-November for the first time ever in Vanderbilt football history. Diego Pavia is the most valuable player, but I'd put Dylan Sampson in that camp. I think what he's done has been tremendous. How about a guy, Whit Weeks, that has just been a revelation for LSU in this Blake Baker defense, despite the fact that they lose Harold Perkins Jr. to a season-ending injury. That guy was everywhere in Arkansas on Saturday night, a la Harold Perkins 2 years ago. I'd say those guys definitely deserve consideration. Garrett Nussmeier as well, of course, and Dylan Sampson. Those would probably be the 4 that I would put in that camp. But, yeah, it kind of feels like a wide-open race right now.
What about Trey Harris?
Trey Harris would definitely, yeah. I mean, trust me, I've been banging the drum for Trey Harris for a while. I'm kind of waiting to see if he comes back healthy off of the bye week. Of course, he was sidelined at the end of that LSU game. And, man, I was even doing the numbers of what it would have looked like if he could have held on to that deep pass on the first or second drive, whatever that was. Or a mistake that he rarely makes. Really, the only 2 blemishes that he's had all season are that play and then the fumble against Kentucky. But the guy just always seems to make up for it. Yeah, Trey Harris is a good one to include. I definitely forgot about him because of the bye week and probably because of the injury.
By the way, I was just looking through the tiebreaker thing, and in the scenario that if it was a Georgia Texas A&M tie, it could get it'll get a little hairy there because there's only like 2 common opponents that all 3 played. Will have played this year, and so that's Florida and Mississippi State. So that's going to decide nothing. It's going to get hairy into those tiebreaker procedures.
Good. That's what we need. If we don't have athletic directors voting on this, like what the original SEC tiebreaker was, what was that, 23 years ago? I want to say 21 years ago. There was that year that Tennessee ended up, I think, getting the tiebreaker because they changed. Mike Slive had the presence of mind to realize this was going to get down to like the 6th tiebreaker, and it was going to be athletic directors voting on who they want in the conference championship, and we couldn't get to that point. That was just supposed to be a filler. Hopefully it gets hairy. I am rooting for nothing but that.
All right, taking the SEC glasses off for this question, would you rather right now take Georgia and Texas or Oregon and Ohio State when it comes to the Natty?
I lean a little bit Georgia, Texas, but I love what Oregon has become with Dan Lanning, and I want to give that group respect. There was about 5 minutes where I talked myself into Oregon winning a national championship this year, and then I talked myself out of it. But even Ohio State fans. They know this. They might defend this to people who criticize it nationally, but deep down, they know it. Can we trust Ryan Day in a big-time game? Because I can't.
No.
I just can't at this point. And if you're telling me then, I got to put all my eggs in the Dan Lanning basket, it's great that he got over the hump against Ohio State. You saw what that win meant for him personally after Kalen DeBoer was just his boogeyman during those 2 years he spent at Washington. But I just don't know if I can fully get on board with that. And I could see this scenario in which Dylan Gabriel's going up against either one of those 2 defenses, both of which I think could give Oregon a lot of problems, Georgia or Texas, and he's just overwhelmed. I could definitely see that playing out on a neutral field, but, yeah, it's not as slam dunk as one would think probably.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe it would the tiebreaker would get down to the cumulative conference winning percentage of all conference opponents.
Let's go. Hey, how
Which I would
about
assume
it?
Texas or Georgia would have to win that, right? Based on the schedule they've played, like I would think that would mean they would be first amongst that.
You'd be surprised though, because sometimes it can get a little bit interesting down the stretch, and all of a sudden you're looking at teams that you're like, oh, they were 3-1 at the time of the matchup, then they finished 3-5 in the SEC. So that can change in a hurry. I think I did this exercise last year with Bama and got to that exact tiebreaker, and they had the same common record, or the same their opponents had the same conference record or whatever it was. And I was like, you would have had to go to another tiebreaker after this with how this would have played out. Maybe it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't remember. I did a lot of tiebreakers in the offseason to prepare for this exact chaos scenario.
If that didn't do it, then I guess we go to capped relative total scoring margin per Sports Source Analytics versus all conference opponents.
Let's just go off vibes. Let's go off vibes at this point. Let's just, who are we feeling more, guys? Let's just get down to it. Let's make it a popularity contest. Like, who do we think just overall?
We eliminate Texas for throwing stuff on the field. You guys are out because you threw stuff on the field.
I think way down on that list of tie breaks is how many times a team has been featured on SEC Shorts as the primary storyline. So if you've been on there the most, you get the nod. So I don't know.
Here's
it's
the
crazy.
thing: we got Vandy, the swagger Vandy that's been featured every single time. So maybe if we're going off vibes, Vandy is going to be a hard team to lose that tiebreaker.
I love swagger Vandy. I love the Commodore. Oh, it's fantastic. He's fantastic as well. He's Connor O'Gara, the senior national columnist for Saturday Down South and the host of the Saturday Down South podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at CJ O'Gara. He's on with us not each and every Tuesday, but every other Tuesday to bring his insight to the program. Connor, as always, thank you so much. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Enjoy the games.
Gentlemen, appreciate it.
Take care.
That's, they could get with these tiebreakers, the fact that there's just not many common opponents anymore.
That's the problem.
When you get a 3-team tiebreaker, the chances of them having all played the same teams, there's going to be very few that 3 teams all played.
Right.
And again, in this case, if it was those 3, it would only be Mississippi State and Florida. Would be the only 2. And obviously that settles nothing because they're all going to have beaten them. And then you got to get deep in there.
Well,
it could get all the way down to the random draw.
It only gets worse if these leagues are going to add more teams. If the Big Ten's going to add to get up to 20, if the SEC is going to add 4 to get up to 20, it makes it worse. Trying to figure out tie breaks.
It would be interesting to see. But again, Georgia have played those top teams, but they've also played. Well, they all played Mississippi State, so that wouldn't. And they'll all have played Florida, which will have bad records. So it would come down to what the next worst record is. If there's one team that played a team with a terrible record and the other 2 didn't play that team, I don't know.
Don't give me a headache. It's too early.
Get very, very complicated. It's not complicated this weekend, this Friday and Saturday over at Genesis Diamonds, where they've got their big Rolex event going on. Their largest sale ever on the luxury pre-owned Rolex watches. That's what's going on this Friday and Saturday. If you've ever dreamed of wearing a Rolex, well, this is a great opportunity to take advantage of special pricing, 0 interest financing on a wonderful selection of those pre-owned Rolex watches over at Genesis Diamonds. Plus, with the purchase of any of those luxury pre-owned Rolexes at this event, Genesis is going to give you a pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings absolutely free. That's a $3,000 value. If you have a Rolex you may be looking to trade, well, they'll do that. Or just looking to get rid of it, their buyers will be on site offering top dollar as well. That's all this Friday and Saturday. The largest ever sale on luxury pre-owned Rolex watches going on at Genesis Diamonds, Poplar, and Perkins Extended.
You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, this is Lauren Choate, Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Generators. Right now, we're offering our Choate's Comfort and Safety Special. For a limited time, when you purchase a $99 tune-up, or if Choate's performs a repair, you'll receive a free 1-year standard family Fan Plan membership at $400 value. Keep your home safe, comfortable, and running smoothly all year long with 2 maintenance visits, priority service, and discounts on future repairs. And for our existing loyal Fan Plan members, we have something special just for you. Enjoy a $1,000 loyalty coupon toward any new generator, tankless water heater, or HVAC system. It's our way of saying thank you for trusting us with your home. Add value, add comfort, and add safety to your home with Choates. Call us today at 347-8086 or visit ChoatesHVAC.com. Choates, let our family serve your family.
I got him on the line right now, Marty McNaid over in Gossett Volkswagen Germantown. Hey, what's happening, dude?
I'm going back in time, Randy, with 0% for 60 months on all 2024 Tiguan's. When's the last time you've heard that?
It's been a while, Marty. Hey, what else you got?
I've got all Peak Edition Atlases at $5,000 off MSRP.
That's awesome. Every Peak Edition Atlas, $5,000 off MSRP.
Or take your pick from 2024 Taos SE or 2024 Jetta SE, $289 a month.
2024 Taos SE or 2024 Jetta SE, $289 a month. Great Scott McNaid, you do got it going on at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown.
As for me, Marty McNaid at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown, and remember, your future is what you make of it.
Get out here and see us 7420 Winchester Road or shop online, GossipBWG.com. It's here, Genesis Diamond's largest ever sale on luxury pre-owned Rolex watches. It's international today. If you've ever dreamed of wearing a Rolex, you can't miss this special two-day event this Friday and Saturday. During this event, you can take advantage of special pricing and zero interest financing on a stunning selection of luxurious pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We've got Rolex Golds, Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsis, the hottest model Rolex watches that you can't find anywhere else. All of our luxury pre-owned Rolexes are in pristine, like new condition, some just out of the box, and all priced to sell at this event. Listen to this: with the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a pair of 2-carat black gold diamond stud earrings for free. That's a $3,000 value. And listen up, Rolex owners and pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex. Come see the largest selection of luxury Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of special financing. Plus, get a pair of 2-carat black gold diamond stud earrings free. It's this Friday and Saturday only at Genesis Diamonds on Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. If you are a first-time guest or have dined with us countless times, I want to thank you for making us part of your lives. Whether you're celebrating with the crowd or planning a cozy date night on the town, Napa Cafe can provide you an extraordinary evening. We have 5 dining rooms, including our private wine cellar, our Jan's room for 2 guests, and the Eleanor room for parties up to 60. Sit back, relax, and celebrate. Leave the cooking to us. Come see me at Napa Cafe, 5101 Sanderlin Avenue. We're open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. We also offer curbside pickup from our full menu. For details on our stay-in, dine-out menu or reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe in 2024. We can't wait to serve you.
Now, back to Sports 56 Mornings.
Good morning.
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Coming up in hour number 2, Humdinger's Trivia to start things off, and then we're going to dive into this whole Tyreek Smith situation, NIL, the mess that is the NIL, even though we're all, I think, for the most part, on this panel in agreement with the players being paid, but just how it's being orchestrated is an issue, and it's an issue over at the University of Memphis. NFL last night, we had the 2 games. We also got the news early this morning about Jamison Williams of the Lions, who will be suspended for 2 games for using performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah, it's been a tough go for him since he's been in the NFL, staying on the field from suspensions. But it's just it was a tough week for receivers. You know, a lot of receivers going to be missing some time here. Some the rest of the season, others a couple of games, others were waiting to find out, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers receiving core. The tough little week on receivers.
Well, to your point, Brandon Ayuk confirmed out for the season, torn ACL and MCL. Remember the holdout, they had the issues with him in the offseason. He's done. Deebo Samuel hospitalized with pneumonia, so I'm not sure how long that will keep him out. Obviously, it's not going to be season-ending unless it gets real bad, but Brandon Ayuk done for the season. San Francisco at 3-4. McCaffrey's been out. Who knows when he's coming back? And then last night was just unfortunate for Tampa Bay. Mike Evans catches a touchdown, his 100th career touchdown. And then later, as he stretches out to try to catch another touchdown, unable to haul it in, injures the hamstring, which was already bad, and he's out, and who knows how long he'll be out for. And then at the very end of the game, as they're trying to chase points, some would say the starter shouldn't have been in there. I had no problem. They were down 10. They were trying to score and maybe get another onside kick. But Chris Godwin looks like broken ankle, something I didn't want to see, and they weren't going to show the replay, as Joe Buck made that point on the broadcast. But you lose your two star receivers, the leading receivers in the history of the organization. And so all of a sudden Tampa Bay, which is actually a pretty decent team, is in deep trouble.
Yeah, that's, you're talking Mike Evans, a Hall of Famer, Chris Godwin. I mean, they were both having fantastic years. And, we talked about Jared Jackson Jr. and Mike Evans. That he tried, he came back probably too early from a hamstring injury and ends up re-aggravating that. Now, who knows how long he will be out. And, yeah, the Godwin one, not a pretty thing at all. And so have to expect that both are going to miss significant time. And that'll make life difficult on old Baker. Losing those two weapons, that's a rough night at the office for a quarterback to know you don't have those two guys now.
Speaking of football and football injuries, Ryan Silverfield, Tigers head football coach, met the media yesterday, said Brandon Thomas, who was unable to play much in the second half of the game against North Texas, will be available. He will be ready to go this weekend against Charlotte, so that's good news. And they're closing in on Greg Duosier being ready to return from his shoulder injury. If not this Saturday against Charlotte, it will be next week more than likely at UTSA. Oh, by the way, they did announce that the start time for the game in San Antonio will be 11 a.m. So it'll be back-to-back early games for Memphis, 11 a.m. this Saturday at home against Charlotte, and then 11 a.m. a week from this Saturday at UTSA. Lawn Solutions is a locally owned weed control fertilization company that serves the greater Memphis area. Brandon Holly and his team of professionals can take care of your lawn, and they do so all year long. Go online to find out more about the company at lawnsolutionsinc.net or call them at 901-867-5626. I love the transparency from this locally owned and operated company. Brandon, he will give you all the information you need once you sign up as far as his email and number is concerned. If there's a problem, you just text them. They'll get it fixed. They'll take care of it if there's any problems. That's how good they are, and that's how much they care about the people that they serve. They've been doing it for years and years because they're good at what they do. They control the germination of weeds all year long. They're applying pre-emergence during the winter months, what they call post-emergence during the summer months to keep those weeds from springing up. They can kill all the diseases your lawn has, any insect infestation, the grub worms, the moles, all of that. They can take care of it for you. So call Lawn Solutions today at 901-867-5626 or go online to lawnsolutionsinc.net. When we come back, we open up Hour 2 at Humdinger's Trivia. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa sale. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you
3124, 8261. MSRP 60,600. Dealer incentive 5151. Customer cash 3,000. Bonus cash 1750. Sierra RZ 321564. MSRP 87,500. Dealer incentive 7,000. Purchase allowance 2750. Expires 10/31/24.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Collier's historic town square. Come out for their lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. Ask about their world-famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with a grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving Lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's tamales, and a customer favorite, hand-breaded onion rings. Dyer's, serving world-famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Collier's historic town square.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Whitten Road in Bartlett. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. Eats with the Z. Good food fast.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. An earlier accident has traffic clogged up pretty good here on 385 Billmore Parkway as you try to get onto 240 going westbound. Just trying to get past Mount Moriah. Again, it's slowing down that traffic on Billmore's Parkway right now, coming inbound right there at 240 on that crash. Traffic on the increase with that volume on 40 West coming past Germantown Parkway all the way to Sycamore View Road. Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area for over 40 years. No matter what the occasion is, go by and see them first. Why? Because you'll save a lot of money at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:03 the time, hour 2 here on Sports 56 Mornings, the Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024 edition. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers. We're broadcasting live from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Currently 53 degrees as you get your Tuesday going. 83 for a high today, so it'll start to warm up, feel more like the end of summer, early fall, not so much what we had last week, which was just outstanding. Just a little bit warmer, but not too bad. 58 for an overnight low into your Wednesday morning, and then your Wednesday looks to be sunny with the temperature rising to 88. In fact, the rest of the week, it's going to be mid to upper 80s. So maybe unseasonably warm, I guess you can call that, as we near the start of November. Second hour of the program brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. More on James Gaddis Jewelers in just a few moments, but right now it's time for Humdinger's Trivia.
That's right. It's a chance for somebody out there to win a $25 gift certificate to Humdinger's. Of course, on Tuesday, that means Taco Tuesday over at Humdinger's with their chicken and fish tacos, just $2 each. That's each and every Tuesday that you can take advantage of that great deal on those delicious tacos over there. But, of course, beyond the tacos, so many great things on the menu, from their grilled fish options to their great sandwiches, salads, their sides, all kinds of great stuff. Some fantastic appetizers as well. Fridays, they do their special on the crispy fish and chips that you can take advantage of as well. All over at Humdinger's at Poplar and Massey. You can go to humdingersrestaurant.com to check out the entire menu. Also on the website, you can get information about catering. Check out catering menus. Great choice for catering any event that you've got. It is humdingers, no doubt about that. Get over at Poplar and Massey is where you'll find them. If you are the first to answer our trivia question correctly, well, then you'll get a $25 gift certificate to Humdingers. And you can answer via text on our Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 901-360-8255, 360-8255. Text in those answers. First correct answer will get that $25 gift certificate to Humdingers. And here is today's question. Today's a pretty simple one. I want to see how much people know off the top of their head and how quick you can be rather than having to go look this up. This college football season, which school is the highest scoring team in FBS? Who is the highest scoring team in FBS this year in college football? 360-8255, 360-8255. Text in those answers, and the first correct answer will get that $25 gift certificate to Humdingers. Highest scoring team in college football this season.
Okay. All right, so I wanted to dive into this whole situation with Memphis basketball and Tyreek Smith. The Memphis basketball program over the years needs to be a soap opera, right? All My Children, One Life to Live, General Hospital, Memphis basketball. I would watch. I think most people would watch. There's
Grizzlies have been more General Hospital.
Yeah, they've been more General Hospital. That's correct. But there's never a dull moment, which, again, when you cover the team, that's what you want, especially as a beat guy, as a person like Parthu Pajai, who joins us every Wednesday and will be with us tomorrow, or Jason Munns for the Commercial Appeal. These beat writers always have something going on. There's always something to talk about. This past off season, early in the spring, summer, it was a little quiet. It wasn't drama-free. There were changes made with the staff that weren't announced, and we had all that going on. But the team itself, the players came in. They were here pretty much by June 1st, if not all of them. And Penny was keeping things close to the vest. So, like I said, drama-free for the most part. And then, of course, we get hit with the onslaught of the coaching changes that were made, a month ago? The anonymous letter, which I said here on the air that you will never hear anything more about that, I guarantee you. And we have not to this point. And now the latest with Tyreek Smith. So yesterday I learned about a guy named Boog Knight, who is basically Tyreek Smith's mentor, handler, if you can call it that, his guy. And the story came out 2 days ago, I think it was, from Hitman Hoops, and then followed up subsequently by Bluff City Media, I believe, that Tyreek Smith had left the program. And yesterday, reading different people's tweets and then reading what Boog Knight had to say to local media, it seems to me that this once again comes down to promises that apparently, allegedly, not fulfilled from a financial standpoint. In other words, we're talking about NIL. We also had this Boog Knight saying that Penny Hardaway has nothing to do with it. It's not Penny's fault. And that he never told Coach that he was leaving the program. You had the Memphis statement that he had asked Penny to have a day away, a personal day, but never said, I'm leaving the program. So whatever the truth is, there's a difference of opinion between some media members and other media members from what they've heard about whether or not the guy left. And that was what I tweeted about the other day, that make sure you have all your facts before you go out there and say it, because you can't walk back on it. You can't say, well, unless he figures it out and then he decides that he's going to come back. I mean, that's ridiculous. If you're going to go out there and say the guy's gone, then the guy's gone. Well, he's not gone yet, and he may not be gone. And if he is, then you nailed the story. But there's an underlying problem with everything that's going on right now with NIL. And there are some people that probably are so old school that they feel that collegiate sports has become worse for NIL. I'm not one of those. I believe that the player should be compensated. I don't even have an issue with revenue sharing, which is coming down the road. The problem's going to be that some schools are not going to be able to do that with their athletes. But this has gotten way out of hand because there was never anything set as far as rules and regulations to govern what is going on with NIL. I'm not talking about restrictions on how much you can make, caps and things of that nature. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where these promises are coming from. Who is making these promises? We had the UNLV situation with the quarterback, right? According to his father, he was promised by an assistant coach. Who knows if Barry Odom knew that, the head coach. Again, you're talking about a situation now where they say, Penny has nothing to do with it. Penny's fine, according to this handler of Tyreek Smith. So who is making the promises? That's where we got a problem. From the collectives to the boosters to the assistant coaches to other staff members, it needs to be something as simple as the coach, and I know right now you can't do this, but it needs to be regulated. The coach, along with the money that's available to these athletes, whether through FedEx or the collective, whatever, everything has to be going through the head coach. The head coach makes the ultimate decision on, I'm going to offer $200,000 for this player. I'm going to offer $75,000 to this player. So they know what the budget is. They know exactly how much money they have. They don't have 8 other people on the staff running around and saying things or doing things. And again, I don't know what the situation is here. But if they're saying that Penny has nothing to do with it, then Penny wasn't making the promises. There can't be a million people making promises. Can't be collectives on their own. I think everything has to go through the coach, who in association, in conjunction with the collectives, know exactly how much there is to offer. And therefore, the athletes themselves know that it has to come from the horse's mouth. There has to be a signed contract, and that's how much money they're going to get. It's right there in black and white, on paper, signed. Not something that a coach comes out, an assistant, an associate, a member of the staff, the guy who brings the lunches in for the kids. Whatever it is, you know that, no, that's not official. It has to be a written contract, and it starts and ends with the coach. You can't have a million people dilly-dallying out there and just offering at will to try to turn that player in your direction to come to play for you when you can't fulfill those promises. I don't know all the particulars here, but if that is the case, because that's what it seems to be.
Boog Knight laid it out. They have a contract. This was the Bluff City Collective that he said did not come through. He said FedEx came through on their part. He said there's other part that hasn't come through. Said he has a contract with, and he said it was Bluff City Collective. Said he has a contract. When somebody said you need to get it in writing, he said he has a contract.
But my point is about in general, not just Memphis. I'm talking about across the board. Cut out all the middlemen, right? Make it 1 or 2 people where you know that that's where it has to come from. Not these collectives. Some are strong collectives. Ole Miss has a strong collective. Others, and I don't know everybody's situation, but I would imagine some are not that strong, and they're making promises they can't keep, or hoping that they'll find the revenue to fulfill the obligation of that contract. If that is the case, then it's ridiculous to have these collectives without association with the coach, so the coach has no idea what they can promise, what they can offer. It has to be in conjunction. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, you're saying the coach should be able to. If the collective is making up money, then they tell the coach the coach offering the money they don't have. It's no different than them offering the money they don't have. I mean, it's like he's with the actual collective. They should know exactly how much money they have, and they apparently promised them money that they don't have or whatever. According to them, they're not paying them.
Yeah, well, there has to be more transparency, but there has to be, first of all, the association with the coach. I know it doesn't right now. That's not the case, right? I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but it has to be the coach with the collective or collectives. There has to be transparency, that they know what the finances are. If not, and they're being lied to, again, that's a whole different situation. That's where you can get into legalities and things of that nature. But you can't just have these collectives willy-nilly offering athletes out there, or their handlers, or their agents, or their former coaches in high school, or whoever, certain things. You have to have the buck stop with the head honcho. That's just my opinion. If you got a thought on that, folks, hit us up. Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. Call in or text in 901-360-8255. But until we have concrete rules and regulations, we're going to have these type of issues.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line, I mean, the whole issue is that NIL has turned out to be something that it was never designed to be. It has just become pay for play.
Wasn't that what it was designed to be?
No, it was designed to be you getting paid for your name, image, likeness. You could do commercials. You could represent companies. You could get paid because you're popular. It has become, we'll offer you this much money to come to school. That's what it's come. And and yes, you'll do a few things or whatever to theoretically make it that's what we're paying you for, but it's not. Like these collectives, they didn't realize that these boosters are smart people, and they all got money, and they'll just end up pooling. They thought of it as like Bill that owns the car dealership will hire a kid to do some commercials, get to pay him. He's
right.
It's turned into these rich people pool their money and just say, here's how much money we got. Come to school here. We'll divvy it up amongst y'all. And that's the way it's turned out to be.
Well, I'd like to see that contract.
There's no way going back on that. Like, it's now the toothpaste is out of the tube on the whole situation, trying to rein it in at this point and figure these things out. Virtually impossible at this point. So, and there is no regulation over these collectives. No regulation. Other than, again, if you have a contract and they're not fulfilling their contract. What does the contract
say? What does it say that you are being compensated for? That's what I would like to know. Like,
most of these do like charity stuff. They like charity appearances, whatever.
Okay, well,
obviously the FedEx ones, we've seen various appearances at FedEx events, things like that they do, and they do stuff like that. But these others, they do charity. They post something on social media about charity stuff, whatever.
Then that's fine, right? That's fine.
Again, but okay, you have to pay.
But I'm saying, you were saying it's basically they're getting money, you're getting paid for doing nothing.
Well, I mean, in a large sense, they are.
But
I mean,
that's the part of it.
It has turned into pay for play. That's bottom line. Like, it's
of course
when a guy's turned.
Of course it is.
When guys offering. When Jaden Rashada says they were offering him $10 million, like, that wasn't because he was going to do some commercials for a car deal. That was just, hey, we got $10 million for you. Come here and you'll do a few things and we can explain that's what you're doing.
But everybody understands that. They're being paid to play, but they're going to do a commercial or they're going to do a charity thing or they're going to go on social media and tweet stuff out. That's part of it. That's exactly what they were going to do. Now,
but there's
no cap.
It is not what it was designed to be.
Well,
when the states made the laws,
then they're very, very naive.
They didn't realize these collectives would pop up everywhere with millions of dollars offering to kids.
Well, they're very naive if they didn't think that was going to happen. The boosters have always been there to give money to players under the table, illegally. I mean, you hear all those stories about, the guy was supposed to make an appearance at the car dealership and went over there and spent 5 minutes and left and got himself, $150,000. These back in the day, the old paper bag stuff. Well, now it's legal. They're doing the same thing. They're paying the players to play the game, and then they're doing little things. But there was never a cap on how much they can make, and there shouldn't be a cap on how much they make. So those boosters with the deep pockets can go ahead and offer all this money. And the strong collectives have that money to pay these players. But the other collectives that don't, some of them are offering or promising things that they can't fulfill. And that is an issue. But I would like to see, and I know this guy has basically been called out. He's not going to do it, but on social media to show the contract. What does the contract say? Because sometimes it's a contract, other times it's the word of mouth that you got. And that was the problem with the UNLV guy. He was promised this. Well, promised by who? Number two, do you have it on paper? A signed deal? Because if you have a signed deal, then you can go, I assume, from a legal standpoint, to court and get your money. I don't know how that all works, but you got a signed document. It's a lot better than having the word of mouth from an assistant coach or an associate that tells you you're going to get this much money if you come here to play.
Well, and that's why, I mean, the people out there most people, like these lawyers, are make sure you get this as a contract. Don't just take anybody's word for anything. Make sure you have a contract that explains what you're getting paid and what you're doing. And then there is no debate. If they don't follow through on it, both sides have legal recourse that they could take to get what they're supposed to get out of it. If you're just taking a person's word, you have no legal recourse to do anything. Now, again, in this situation, he said that they have a contract. So if they have a contract and I guess, as he said, the Bluff City Collective, I guess, is not paying, well, they can take them to court and get their money, however much money is said to be in that contract.
And again, if something is on paper that was offered by the Bluff City Collective, and again, to me, Penny Hardaway this isn't Penny's fault. I agree with what they're saying, but he should be privy to all this information so he knows what's going on. Wait a minute, you offered this to this guy, and do you have that money? Or, like I said, I think it should all start and end with the coach. He has to run the show. He's working in consultation with Bluff City, in this case for Memphis or another school. What do we have here? What do you have in your coffers that you're able to offer? Do we have that? All right, well, let's offer this guy this much. Or you have your so-called GM. Football's now general managers, basically. I don't know about basketball if they have somebody that runs that show. But that person with the head coach in consultation with the collectives have to all be on the same page. You can't have one doing something and another doing another thing, and you have no idea of what's going on. That puts you in these type of situations.
But in most of these states, the coaching can't even do anything.
I know. I think it should be changed. That's my point. It should be unilateral. The rules should be the same. It's all messed up right now. Let me go to Keith on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. Keith, how are you?
Greg, man, you're on the same page. I mean, all right, now what about the band or the cheerleader or soccer team or baseball or track?
Right.
And I mean, and how much money does the school get off of this? And who's paying this NIL money?
Well, the school gets nothing off of it.
Yeah, school gets nothing, and the NIL money's paid by the boosters or the companies that want to give
whoever wants
to the collective.
Pay it.
Yeah, it's just not. It should be uniform, like what you're saying, Greg. It should be.
But they lost that opportunity when they didn't do anything, and all the states just started making their own laws.
Right.
You can't make this. So unless the U.S. government steps in and does some national law on it or whatever, because the NCAA has lost complete control of it. Now you're talking state laws, and every state's a little bit different with what their laws are.
Yeah, and you hate to bring in the politics and on all that, Keith. But I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to have to be some congressional bill that oversees everything that's going in collegiate sports as far as the NIL is concerned, so we can have this unilateral rule or regulation of what's going on, because right now it is absolutely out of control.
I agree, Greg. I agree.
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it.
And the other, I mean, the one of the reasons they allowed the athletes to be able to have agents representing them is to try and avoid some of this, because people would take advantage of the athletes because they don't know the legal stuff of it or anything else. So the idea that you could have an agent who theoretically should be able to understand that we got to get a contract, a legal binding contract to make this official, all this stuff. That's one of the reasons they did it. Like, so the kids can't be taken advantage of. Although, again, when some kid gets just promised some money, like he's like, okay, I don't know. They told me I'm going to get money. Sounds good to me. Let's do this whole thing. And kids will end up being taken advantage of and the problem is once you're there. Now, again, you could do like what the UNLV quarterback did and just leave in the middle and wait until next year. But generally, you're kind of trapped there. Like if you're in the middle of the thing and now they haven't paid you, well, I can't transfer and play this season, so I'm kind of stuck here. And if you don't have a contract that says what they actually owe you, well, now you're just kind of out of luck. You're like, okay, well, there's no legal thing that I have no legal recourse because I didn't get a contract. I can't go anywhere else right now. All I can do is kind of call them out and say they didn't pay me. But what does that really? What do I get out of that?
Exactly, and like you said, with the states all having different rules and regulations, a number of these states will not allow the direct contact between that athlete and that coach. They have to go through these collectives. But that's the biggest problem whatsoever. Your coach, as we've always talked about, is the CEO and should know everything that's going on in the program. And so, again, in this situation, you have the guy actually coming out and saying, this isn't Penny's fault. Well, Penny not to know what's going on with the collectives and the players, which is hard to believe to begin with, that coaches would not know, even if they're not supposed to, but that they wouldn't know, to have some understanding of what's going on. But if
he
that's
might
the
have
case,
known. He just didn't make the deal. He just said he's not the one that made the deal.
Right. He didn't make the deal, but he should, like, it has to be where they are allowed to have this consultation with these collectives so they know exactly what's going on. Wait a minute here. We got this kid. We want to get this kid. You got 20? You got 20 grand for this guy? Let's offer this guy 20 grand. We're all on the same page. But if you are not on the same page, or not allowed to be on the same page, they may offer the kid $50,000 and they don't have $50,000. And then the coach doesn't know what they offer. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Again, NIL, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem whatsoever with athletes being paid, being compensated for what they do out there on the field. But my gosh, you have to have some rules and regulations. This is just so screwed up from the get-go with the NCAA, the governing body of, I'm using the air quotes, amateur sports. Forget about that. It's not amateur anymore. And now you have willy-nilly rules and regulations from different states. They're all different. It's a big mess.
Couple of texts here. Keith says, it would seem to me in the case of the Memphis player, they say they have a contract. They say FedEx fulfilled their part of the contract. The other did not. All they could do is sue the other. He still has to honor his contract with FedEx, or FedEx could sue him. It's a dilemma. Yeah, but he may have already fulfilled the FedEx portion of what he has to do for FedEx. We don't know. Again, as long as there's a contract here, like this one's pretty simple. It's whatever the contract says. They can, either side can go to court and claim, listen, it's right here in the contract. This is what you said we were getting. We fulfilled our part of the obligation. You guys haven't fulfilled yours. This one's quite simple if there's an actual contract, which, again, he says they have a contract. But
here's my question.
Settled easily.
Where is the FedEx money coming from? Like, the FedEx money, where does that go? Who controls the FedEx money? The collective?
FedEx.
So they're just dealing directly with FedEx, then they're dealing directly with the collective for the rest of the money. Is that basically what's going on?
That would be my guess. I mean, okay. FedEx, FedEx, we've seen these guys do many FedEx events, like FedEx, I'm sure. FedEx is doing it the way, like, it was kind of intended to do. Like, you do stuff for us, we pay you.
See, I thought all the companies...
Now, I think the school and FedEx are working in, like, consultation of, like, how all of the FedEx money is going to be divided, like how much is going to this sport and how much is going to that sport and all that stuff. I don't know exactly how all that's being decided.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be better if there was just one entity that had all the money to dispense? In other words, the FedEx money comes in and it goes to, call it a collective, call it whatever you want. And they got all that money with the money they've raised, with other companies that have given, with individuals that have given. But
there might be companies that want. Companies might say, no, like, we want to deal with the athletes. We want them to do this for us, and we pay them for that. We don't need any of you guys' help. We do this all the time.
Yeah, I know, but that could complicate things too. If it's the more.
Well, that's their right as a company. If I don't want the kid to do something for me, I can hire him to do something for me, and we pay him to do it. That's what NIL is, and we're doing it. We don't want to go through any collective and pool our money. We want to do our thing with these athletes the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, but here's the question. When that player has been designated by the coaching staff. We want to take a look at Tyreek Smith and see if we can get Tyreek Smith.
But see, again, this is not because this is the whole problem. NIL, it's actually said in there. It is not supposed to be at all a recruiting enticement.
I know, but how?
So you can't do that. That's actually illegal.
I know. I know. Some states you can do it. Some states the school can do it directly now. But the dynamics of how it works. So how? I mean, like, first of all, who's making the initial inquiry? Is it the player and his representative? They contact the school, but it can't be the school. So do they contact the collective? No, I don't think they're contacting that collective. How does the people running that collective know that Penny and the staff want that player if they can't have any contact? How do they know that they're interested in that player? And then how does FedEx get involved? I mean, it's really weird when you think about it, how this is all working.
Well, no, yes, and again,
I mean, in a perfect world,
most of it's illegal the way it's working because again, it's not supposed to be a recruiting. Well, you're not supposed to do anything until the person's here.
I understand what's not supposed to.
So a lot of this has to be done still under the table because we can't do this as a recruiting enticement.
And that's why I'm saying get it out all in the open. That's the whole point of this thing, and to have legal payments to players. That's where we are right now. I mean, it's ridiculous. In a perfect world, again, Penny Hardaway. Again, I'm just using them as an example. For any coach out there, they have the collective or the collectives. I think there might be two collectives with Memphis. You have the collectives. You have the other companies that are willing to give the money, and now I would involve the school. The school says, okay, $1 million of it's going to go to basketball, men's basketball, $2 million to football. So you know you have that money. You know what you have from the collectives. Now you have this pool of money, and now you go after the players. And you use the money you have to do that. I mean, it seems pretty simple, but we have complicated this thing so much. To have stories like we have with the Tyreek Smith or the kid from UNLV and others that are around the country. Last year, the whole Jordan Brown thing.
This is more simple than anything. This is a collective having a contract with a kid. You can't get more simple than that. Apparently, they're just not fulfilling their part of the contract.
Yeah, but how did the player, in this case Tyreek Smith, work a deal with FedEx and then work a deal with the collective separately? That's what happened? How did they know then again that Penny wanted that kid? Do you see what I'm saying? How messed up it is? They have to all know. They have to. What are you going to guess what player he wants? I don't know. We'll take a break. It's crazy. Oh, boy. Pinnacle Roofing and Restoration for all your roofing and home repair needs. Call Brandon McCullough at 901-438-5084 or go online to newroofmemphis.com. They offer financing with different plans and options to choose from, including a 6, 12, or 18-month same as cash option. They'll work with your insurance company or out of pocket, whatever it takes to get that new roof or that roof repaired. They do residential and commercial roofing. So business owners and property managers out there, if you have a leak or any other roofing problem, call Brandon today. They'll come out and do a free roof inspection. They're licensed, bonded, and insured and a member of the Better Business Bureau. You get a 5-year labor warranty on the purchase of a new roof. All their work, satisfaction guaranteed, and that includes all that restoration work, carpentry work, exterior painting, gutters replaced, shingles installed, fencing put up, siding put up, rotten wood repair. They can do all of that if you can't do it yourself. Call the experts at Pinnacle Roofing and Restoration. Call Brandon. Tell him you heard it here on Sports 56 Mornings, 901-438-5084, or go online to newroofmemphis.com. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
442, MSRP 90,035. Hornet R380-8452, MSRP 44,620. Charger PH 592,276, MSRP 60,985. Gladiator RL 106,204, MSRP 56,265. Includes all rebates and incentives and excludes PF 695. Excludes tax file and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Dealer stock only.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday is happy hour from 3 to 6 with $1 off all draft meals, $5 off well drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and half off pretzel bites, mozzarella sticks, queso, corn dogs, and pickles. Monday through Friday night lights from 7 to closing. Dine in and buy 12 wings and get 5 regular wings for free. Come watch college football and every pro game on the weekend. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Highway 70. Fall is football.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Sports 56 traffic.
Morning, still running slow as you come inbound on 385 Billmore Parkway, trying to get onto 240. All from that wreck we had a little bit earlier there on 240 West at Mount Moriah. That backed it up pretty quickly. Actually, again, a little bit slower than normal as you come in from Collierville. Now on 385 Billmore Parkway, trying to get on that ramp to 240. 40 West is picked up also from Germantown Parkway to Sycamore View Road. Vet Tech Workshop for Teens are back at the Humane Society, Memphis, Shelby County. If your child is interested in veterinary medicine, check out the Vet Tech Workshop this Saturday at 10:30. Log on to memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
To reveal the full spectrum of its dazzling color.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back here in the Family Leisure Studios. 8:38 the time. A couple other things here on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line. Wayne says, come on, Eli. What else was NIL meant to be other than pay for play? Again, whatever it ended up to be, it was not designed to be. Like when these states were making these laws, this was not what they were intending it to be. Now, you could say they were dumb or naive or whatever for not understanding, again, the way these boosters and rich people around these programs think. Like if you were giving them, if before they were willing to break the rules in order to pay kids, you should have realized they would do their best to skate the rules or bend the rules or whatever in this situation in order to make this work the best for the school that they want the best players to play for. That's the way these people are. They got a lot of money. They're smart people, and they have figured out immediately these collectives became a thing of like, wait, if we just pool all this money together, we could kind of come up with a budget. Kids know what that budget is. They know how much money we have as a school. They know that there's a better chance to make money here than there is over there where they have a lot less money. I mean, and now it's just kind of, as states have changed rules, all of these things, it's just evolved more and more into, it's pay for play.
Yeah, but look, I can't speak for anybody else but myself, but I don't think that bothers people. They know right now we live in a different era where players, athletes are being compensated for their name, image, and likeness. And maybe they're overly compensated for doing a little appearance at a blood donor drive or at a food bank or something like that. Nobody cares. I don't think we care about what they're doing to get this money. What they're doing is they're playing basketball, they're playing football.
Nobody said they care.
Nobody cares about that. What they care about, though, is all this miscommunication and screw-ups because there's so many different people involved in every transaction. That's why we have situations like this. That's what the problem is. It's not that they're making a certain amount of money and that they're, they're not working 9 to 5. They're out there and they're making a public appearance or signing a couple of helmets. That's fine and dandy. All right? Give them their money. Nobody is arguing that. But the way it's being done, the way it's being shelled out, or in some cases not shelled out, that's the issue.
Matt says, I thought that Boog guy is supposedly his representative. Looked pretty unprofessional last night on Twitter, getting on there and arguing with random Twitter people. Didn't seem like the most professional thing to do.
Well, he's not an attorney. The guy's just his guy. It's his insider. It's his handler. It's his mentor. It's his friend.
I don't know exactly. But again, I don't like he was defending his guy because people were saying that he was leaving because he didn't like the competition. Like he was running from the competition. And he'd get on there and he basically got on and said, that's not it at all. Like, that's just not what the case is. There was he thought there was another misunderstanding, something internally with, I guess, the coaching staff. He said that got handled, that found out that was a misunderstanding. And then he talked about the other thing that, FedEx came through with their part of it. And he said Penny's trying to clean up a mess that he didn't create. It was not his fault. He didn't create the thing. He's trying to clean it up. So there's no problem whatsoever with Penny. He called out in the one tweet, somebody I think asked her if it was Bluff City Collective, and he said yes or whatever, but he said it was Bluff City Collective. Like that's according to him, where the issue lies is with that Bluff City Collective, and apparently from their perspective, they're not getting what they were promised.
I lose a lot of respect for athletes if during the season they get up and leave because they're not getting the minutes that they thought they would get, or they were beaten out for the starting job. I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with transferring. That's, again, the portal is the world we live in. I don't have a problem with that. After the season's done, you decide you want to take your talent somewhere else. You think you'll get more playing time. So that's fine. But yesterday, Wolo was talking about it. Again, I don't think Wolo was talking about it knowing that for sure, but the rumor was out there that, he was mad that Nicholas Jourdain started an exhibition game over him. Well, obviously that was snuffed. That was not the case. That is not the situation. We don't believe so. It does seem that all it is the money, and that's incredibly important. And I have no qualms with these athletes who are now basically employees getting what they were told they were going to get if it's on paper and you have a signed document. It's like not getting your paycheck, right? We don't get our paycheck, we're going to go ballistic. Well, they're trying to get their paycheck. They're trying to be paid, okay? I have no problems with that. If it was somebody who I didn't start the exhibition game, that I would have a problem with. See what I'm saying? This I don't have a problem with if this is all what's really happening. And it seems like it is all about NIL and all about money. I think the problem is on the other side, not on this athlete side. If everything I've read is accurate, I'm more for what the player is saying here. And
anybody that has a contract that one side of is not fulfilling that contract, yeah, I'm with them. Like
right.
if you've got a contract and somebody's not fulfilling it, well, that's on them. That's not on you. And if you're whatever measures you want to take to get what you're supposed to get out of that contract, more power to you. Go on. I don't care however you do it. There's a reason a contract was signed. Both sides should fulfill their sides of that contract.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty black and white issue. Again, the problem is with a lot of these situations is that kids just hear dollars. They don't think about, I need to get that in a contract. I'm sure they'll come through for me. We're good to go. And then they find out that that's not there. And again, you're trapped because you're just like, okay, what are you supposed to do now unless you sit out a year and wait till next year to try and play?
But you can avoid all that if you go back to what I said at the beginning, and we have a rule or rules and regulations where everything has to go through one party, meaning the head coach or the designated GM, who is the one that oversees personnel and personnel matters. Not 30 different people out there promising. It has to be, if we just say it all has to come through the coach, then it has to come through the coach. Not the assistant coach, not the associate head coach, not the strength guy, not a booster, not the guy who owns the convenience store, and it has to be documented. That's simple. End of story. And if they don't pay you, then you sue them. We can make it a lot simpler than it is right now.
Again, it's just bottom line. You got to make sure you get a contract. I don't care who it's with.
First and foremost,
just make sure you get representative.
Which didn't happen with the UNLV guy.
Get a contract and make sure you have a representative. Make sure it's a fair contract, because there will be people that even in a contract will try to take advantage.
No
of
question.
You. So you need to make sure you have a fair contract and get a representative to represent you, so you know you're getting a fair contract, and get a representative that's going to have your best interest and not. Because there's going to be some representatives out there that are going to be shady too. So you got to make sure you have the right representative representing you and getting what you need to do. And then once you've got the contract, it's a pretty simple thing. As long as it's a well done contract with legal people knowing what they're looking for and reading, and so you're not being taken advantage of.
Yeah,
I don't care what you're in anything in life. There will be people that will try and take advantage of you in signing contracts. That happens everywhere.
No question about it. But I just wonder about every Joe Q public athlete out there that may make $500 if they're going to have representation. I mean, you certainly got to pay for representation. So I don't know if that'll be the case with those type of athletes, but certainly buyer beware with the contract.
Moving can be stressful, folks, but with the folks at Black Tie Moving helping you, doing that move for you, well, that takes a lot of that stress and worry out of the process. You've just bought a new home, or maybe you're moving into a new office space. You got that move coming up, and you got a lot of things on your mind you're trying to figure out. You don't want to have to try and do all the moving yourself. Get the professionals. Talk to Black Tie Moving. Give them a call at 901-316-6196, or you can just go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis. Talk with the professionals. They'll work with you to come up with a plan for your move. Fitting number one, your needs. Fitting number two, your budget. Very important. And you'll get a no obligation quote up front, so you know exactly what it's going to cost as well. And they'll do kind of as much or really as little as you want. If you want them to just pick your stuff up and take it and drop it off, whatever. If you want them to do all the packing and unpacking, maybe you need storage for an interim little basis, whatever it is, they've got you taken care of at Black Tie Moving. So again, give them a call, 901-316-6196, or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis.
Do we have a winner?
We do have a winner in the Humdinger's True. Actually, we're gonna need a tiebreaker. Elijah, your first ever Humdinger's Trivia tiebreaker. We had two people who came in with the right answer at the same time, same timestamp. There were a lot of others that did get the correct answer, but they were a little later than the two fastest ones. There were a lot of folks that had wrong answers. A lot of people went with Miami. Miami is the second highest scoring team in America this season. A lot of people went with Army and or Navy. Navy is fourth. Army is 12th. In scoring this season. I think those were the most popular wrong answers, were Miami, Army, and Navy. Some people came with North Texas. North Texas scores the points, but they're not the highest scoring team in America. The highest scoring team in America is undefeated this season, and that would be averaging 48.7 points per game with 341 points. Either you go points per game or total points scored.
Quack, quack.
They are number one.
Quack, quack?
If that's the noise a Hoosier makes, then yes.
Damn.
But that's not.
It's not the Oregon Ducks?
No. Oregon is not even in the top 20.
Wow. Indiana, how about that?
Oregon is number
Fighting
20.
Signetics.
Oregon is number 26. Yes, Indiana is the highest scoring team in America. So, Elijah, here's your first opportunity to do a tiebreaker. That's how this works, is I give you options of however many people are tied, and then you just pick one of the two things I give you. They're very random things. So, Thelma or Louise?
I'm feeling Louise this morning.
Louise, okay. All right.
Do you know what he's referencing, by the way?
I've heard it. I've heard the names before, but I'm not familiar with what they stand for.
It's a movie. Thelma and Louise. Brad Pitt was also in that movie.
We will be contacting our winner and letting you know how you'll get your $25 gift certificate to Humdingers.
All right, we'll take a quick break. More on Tiger basketball when we return. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms
Arms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Quicky's Barbecue in Cordova.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
Get ready, Memphis. It's our 35th annual Trucktober happening here at Sunrise Buick GMC and Wolf Chase. Big trucks, four-wheel drive trucks, two-wheel drive trucks, crew cab trucks, extended cab trucks, diesel trucks, gas trucks. We got red trucks, black trucks, white trucks. We got trucks for big jobs, and we got trucks for weekend warriors. We got trucks for great gas mileage and trucks for all your towing needs. Huge discounts, big rebates, special interest rates. We've got it all. Ford, slow pay, it's all okay at Sunrise. Home of the guaranteed approval. Come see us for all your car, truck, and SUV needs. Visit us at the good-looking building on Highway 64 in Bartlett. It's Truck Month. We make it fun to buy a car.
Getaway Sports Club, the best hits secret in town. Open noon to 1:30 a.m. 7 days a week. Garden, the creators, SEC NFL Dream Bar over 20 years ago. You'll never miss a minute of action. 10 TVs, 5 70-inch TVs for all the big games. Come up on 6 pool tables. Kansas Beer and Taylor. Pool steak, dishes, and hot water. Chicken tenders. Daily happy hour Monday through Friday, 10 to 6 p.m. On Radio 625 Getaway Sports Club, 4632 Winchester.
Now, back to Sports 56 Mornings.
Isn't it a lovely morning?
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Coming up in hour number 3, we'll talk about those 2 Monday night games, including the amazing Derrick Henry, the amazing Lamar Jackson, also the AP preseason All-America men's basketball team. We will have Brad Logan joining us at 9:25 to break down Ole Miss and Oklahoma. Jeff Goodman, who covers college basketball, he had a round table of people, and they were talking about a bunch of different topics going into this college football season. And he said, the question came up, what coach has the most pressure this season? Goodman went with Penny Hardaway. What do you think about pressure? 7th season, new AD and Ed Scott, who has no past history other than knowing that Penny Hardaway was an incredible basketball player. It's an important year.
Well, there should be a lot of pressure, but in this city, there tends not to be on him.
Well, that's the question. And I think, I was talking with Stats yesterday. We were texting back and forth, and I said, I think we were talking about the Grizzlies, but I think it's an extremely important year for the Grizzlies and for the Tigers, and in particular, the coaches, and Taylor Jenkins and Coach Penny Hardaway. And it all gets underway for the Grizzlies tomorrow against the Utah Jazz on the road. I mentioned that the soft schedule to open the season, that's why you want to be at your best. And who knows where the Grizzlies will be. Will they have that chemistry and that cohesiveness of a team that hasn't played together right off the bat? Utah at Houston Friday, Orlando in the home opener on Saturday, Chicago on Monday, Brooklyn next Wednesday, and then the Bucks on Halloween night. So again, you look at that schedule on paper, right? Utah, Houston, Orlando, Chicago, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee. I mean, you should come away no worse than 4-2 if you're going to really make a run in the West. Again, 6 games doesn't make up an 82-game schedule, but it sets the tone early on. And then you start out in November, Philly, tough, Brooklyn again, Lakers. We were just talking about the Lakers earlier. And where are they going to be? Washington, Portland. It's a schedule you got to really do some damage early on. And you don't want to be behind the 8 ball as it gets tougher.
Yeah, there's certainly there's opportunities there when you're talking about Washington and Portland and Brooklyn. I mean, these are the worst teams in the NBA. Those are teams that, regardless of if you're even somewhat healthy, you should beat them for sure. And so, yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity to get off to a good start, no doubt about it. If you don't, it's not the end of the world because, again, there is 82 of them. But, yeah, you'd like playing those teams. You feel like you should win your fair share of those games.
The Fall Classic gets underway Friday in Los Angeles, Dodgers and the Yankees, and that's going to be some kind of fun. But the news today is from the St. Louis Cardinals, for all you Cardinal fans out there, like Eli. John Jay, remember John Jay? John Jay will join the Major League staff. Willie McGee is going to step down. This is according to Katie Wu, friend of the show. He will step down, but he will still be part of the organization as a special advisor. So John Jay will take the role of Willie McGee. Well, at James Gaddis Jewelers, if you are going to be getting engaged this upcoming holiday, the holiday season is almost here. Well, James Gaddis Jewelers is the place for you. The biggest selection of engagement rings in the Mid-South, the best prices on the GIA certified diamonds to fit anybody's budget. Family owned and operated for over 60 years in Memphis, nearly 40 years at their Poplar Avenue location. Their jewelry specialists are here to help navigate the scary waters of buying a diamond and taking that leap hand in hand. Again, holidays, gift-giving season almost here, so perhaps you're looking for a special present for that special someone. They have watches of all types and earrings and necklaces and pendants, bracelets, just beautiful, beautiful jewelry, and they will take care of it for you. If you need a simple cleaning, you need a readjustment, resetting of the rock, refitting, because fingers get bigger and they get smaller, they can take care of that for you. So let them worry about your Christmas list this year. New jewelry collections coming in weekly. Follow them on Instagram at Gaddis Jewelers. It's James Gaddis Jewelers. You know them, you love them, right there on Poplar Avenue between Mendenhall and St. Nick. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
When you're working outdoors, unpredictability is the norm, so tackle your toughest jobs with the 2025 Honda Pioneer 700. This rugged side-by-side brings power to any party with reliable torque for towing and smooth shifting for the trails. And you can choose between 3 trims, Standard, Deluxe, or the True Timber Force Edition, equipped for ultimate backwoods adventures. See the 2025 Honda Pioneer 700 today at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Newman Road in Old Branch. Other safety leaders may not be
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Collier's historic town square. Come out for their lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. Ask about their world-famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with a grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving Lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's tamales, and a customer favorite, hand-breaded onion rings. Dyer's, serving world-famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Collier's historic town square.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Traffic still heavy trying to get in on Bill Morris Parkway onto 240 from that earlier wreck we had on 240 westbound just before Mount Moriah. Again, that clogged up traffic even more now, where it was already heavy coming in on Bill Morris Parkway 385, trying to get up on that ramp to 240. Still busy over here, but it's moving 40 westbound from Germantown Parkway to Sycamore View Road. Weimer's Jewelry 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. And once again, Barbara Gaston and Eli
Rolling right along on a Tuesday morning. We welcome you back to Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers, broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. Coming up a little bit later on in the hour, Brad Logan will join us as we break down Ole Miss and Oklahoma this Saturday at Vaught Hemingway. Currently 60 degrees, on the way up to about 83 today. Sunshine, then tonight 57 for a low, clear skies. Tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, sunshine and the temperatures getting into the mid to upper 80s, so feeling a little bit more like summer. I guess that'll all depend on the humidity, so be ready for that. I want to talk some NFL here in just a moment as well. As we continue here on the program, you can always hit us up on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. Two more games last night to wrap up Week 7 of the National Football League. Doubleheader, Monday Night Football. One game was a score fest with 72 points. The other one, not so much, with 32 points. The Ravens and the Buccaneers from Tampa Bay, with the Ravens winning their fifth straight, 41-31 over the Bucs. The Bucs started out like gangbusters, and then it all fell apart. And the injuries we talked about at the beginning of the show today, with Mike Evans' injury and then Godwin's injury, which looks to be really, really serious, maybe even a broken ankle. I guess we'll find out more today. But the Ravens go to 5-2. The Buccaneers drop to 4-3. Baker Mayfield, 3 touchdown passes, but he did throw 2 costly interceptions early in that game. In the meantime, it was the Lamar Jackson / Derrick Henry show, as it's been most of the year. Although Mark Andrews, for all you fantasy football owners, he had a big game finally, a couple of touchdown catches. But Lamar Jackson threw 5 touchdown passes, and Derrick Henry, 169 yards on just 15 totes.
Yeah, it was weird because early on in the first half, they weren't using Derrick Henry at all. I think he had 4 carries in that first half, and they were even on the broadcast questioning, like, is he healthy? Is there something wrong? And they checked, and they were told that, no, he is healthy. Like, and there's nothing wrong with him. It was like, well, this is bizarre, because I think they said he had not had fewer than 7 carries in a first half this year, and suddenly had 4. I think he was ended with 4. But then in the second half, they go to him, and he breaks off the long run, which, again, every time you watch him, it's just insane to think he outruns basically everybody on the field at his size. It just doesn't register. Actually, they were telling, because they told the story about, they asked Derrick Henry, what was the first thing or whatever that Lamar Jackson said to you when you kind of became his teammate, and he said that he was like, I didn't realize you were that fast. I think that was everybody's reaction. Even watching him, I think you would always be amazed that if you saw him up close, how big he is, then to see how fast he is, it probably is a little bit startling on anybody. Like, dude, you shouldn't be able to run that fast at your size.
Yeah, he is something else. When the Titans decided that they weren't going to keep him, I thought to myself, well, they must feel that he doesn't have all his gears anymore, because we know how productive Derrick Henry has been in the NFL since his arrival from Alabama with the Titans. Lo and behold, the Ravens get him, and I think we all said, wow, that's a great pickup to help out Lamar Jackson. He looks like he's 19 years old. He's pulling away from guys. The only reason they caught him on the one long run was because of the angle that the defensive back got over to make that play, or it would have been a touchdown. He averaged 11.3 yards per carry. He can run you over. He can run around you. He's fascinating. And then you couple that with Lamar Jackson's escapability. By the way, he had 52 yards rushing on 9 carries, 5.8 a pop, and 5 touchdown passes. You look at Baltimore and you go, if the defense is any semblance of what it's always been in the past, which is ferocious, how does anybody beat them? But then you throw in this. Lamar Jackson, who has a great chance to win a 3rd regular season MVP, is one of the greatest regular season players I've ever seen. But in the postseason, he's 2-4. Can he break through with this team this year? I don't know how you stop these guys with the speed that they have.
Well, certainly once they get down, especially inside the 10-yard line, and at that point they can just do read option, and you got to try and figure out, okay, is he giving it to Derrick Henry? So we got to load up on that. If not, he pulls it and runs around the edge, and you can't catch him. But getting Andrews the last couple of weeks back involved in the offense, that deep ball he threw for the touchdown to Rashad Bateman was just, perfect. They've got that offense is loaded. Like they may be the best. They may be the best team in football. There's a chance. Like they are that good, especially offensively. The defense, although they struggled to stop the run last night a bit, they'd come in, I think, as the number 1 run defense in football. They've Roquan Smith. I don't know how many tackles he ended up with last night. It had to be 20. Had to be close to 20 because he was at 14. I believe that was in the 3rd quarter that he was already at 14 tackles. That dude is a tackling machine all over the field. They've got certainly plenty of other good players on the defense. Kyle Hamilton's awesome in the secondary, like at safety. Like that team, there really isn't anything that you would say they need this. Like they are pretty much loaded. And if it's for Lamar Jackson to really take that step up into the elite of the elite, it's now to get it done in the postseason and go to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. He got very close last year, getting to the AFC Championship and couldn't get it done. Now, granted, you got Patrick Mahomes that a lot of times you're going to have to face in the postseason as well. That's a tough task. That's a tough ask for anybody to beat Patrick Mahomes. Not many people are doing that these days in the postseason. So they have that hurdle in front of them, and maybe this will be the year. Because, again, adding Derrick Henry just adds a whole nother element that they are virtually impossible to stop offensively.
Roquan had 18 tackles.
I know I had to get close to 20.
Yeah, 11 solo. Kyle Hamilton had 11 tackles, 7 solo. Eddie Jackson chipped in with 8 tackles, 6 solo. Now, they did lose Marlon Humphrey. He had to leave the game. He had a pick.
Yeah, 2
picks, and he had to leave the game. I don't remember when he left. I might have been flipping channels at that point.
It was right before halftime that he left there. It was after the second interception. I think it was on the second interception that he got hurt.
Oh, did he?
If I'm not mistaken.
I saw his first one. I did not see the second interception.
But now certainly they need him to get healthy, or they want him to be healthy. But there's every level of the defense. They've got studs offensively. They've got studs all over the place. It's just that is a really, really well-built football team, and it's whether they can figure out a way to get it done in the postseason Certainly Derrick Henry would love, I'm sure, to have that postseason success, and Lamar Jackson certainly, and keeping those two healthy. And that's the thing, too. Last night, the way they did with Derrick Henry, if you've got Derrick Henry really fresh in the second half to go against a defense that it's worn down a little bit, good luck trying to tackle that guy.
Pittsburgh's 5-2, Baltimore's 5-2, and I never want to doubt, and I will never doubt Mike Tomlin. But I look at those two teams, and to me, Baltimore seems superior in every regard. While Pittsburgh's getting it done, they're playing musical quarterbacks now. Wilson had the good second half, and they got the win over the Jets. I give them credit. But to me, and they haven't faced each other yet, correct?
No.
I just think Baltimore is much better than Pittsburgh.
I don't think it's close. Again, Baltimore is in the 3 or 4 best teams, if not the best team in the NFL.
Who would you have in there? Kansas City, Detroit.
Kansas City, Detroit, and them would be my top 3 teams.
Yeah. I mean, the one team that's going to be interesting is San Francisco, because if they get all their guys back and they don't have Ayuk, he's now done for the year. But if they get McCaffrey back, Samuel's dealing with pneumonia down the stretch, and we know what they're capable of doing. But right now, they're 3-4. Okay, the other game yesterday, the game I did not watch 1 second of, was the Chargers and the Cardinals, with the Cardinals pulling it out 17-15 on a Chad Ryland 32-yard walk-off field goal as the Cardinals improved to 3-4. The Chargers dropped to 3-3. Kyler Murray was very exciting to watch if that's what you like in your quarterbacks, like Lamar Jackson, the guys that can beat you with their legs and their arm. 44-yard touchdown run was electric. And then after the Chargers had grabbed the lead, he helped lead his team down the field, which eventually paid off in that Chad Ryland game winner. So the Cards get the dub at home.
I just love watching the dude run, and he's like toying with the defender. He just looks like he's on fast forward when he runs, and that run down, like, he just holds the ball out, like teasing guys, like, no, you're not getting this. I'm way too fast for you. Now the last drive, I am with the Chargers fans who are upset about the unnecessary roughness call on the play with Marvin Harrison Jr. I thought the guy basically missed him. This is another, in the Buccaneers-Ravens game, I give those referees credit because there was the massive hit. I think it was Hamilton put on Cade Otton. And Troy Aikman even reacted to it and couldn't believe there's a flag at first, because we are now trained that if you see a receiver get blasted by a defensive back at all, you assume it's a penalty. And Aikman was like, whoa, like there's not a flag. And then looked like and then they showed the replay, and there was a shoulder-to-shoulder hit.
Yeah.
And it was a clean hit, but it is, like, I was with him too. I was like, when it happened, I'm like, oh, they're going to throw a flag. Like, that's just the way we're trained now, and it seems like the referees are trained. Guy gets hit that hard, it's a flag.
Well, they say he's defenseless and that stuff.
And then the play in the other game, again, I don't think he basically grazed Marvin Harrison Jr., but unless there's a different angle that shows there was some contact with his head, which, again, I didn't see. Marvin Harrison's head didn't move, so I don't understand. Like, if you watch those two plays separately and said one was a penalty and one was not, you would never in a million years guessed that the one on the Chargers was a penalty. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's for Chargers fans, I feel for you. Like, that's could be a game-deciding call. It was going to be 3rd down and 10 for the Cardinals if they don't make that call. Instead, they get the first down. The next play is the long pass play to Connor, and they're in field goal range. They run out the clock, they kick the field goal, and they win it. It just amazes me that would be unnecessary roughness in the NFL, because I just didn't see hardly any contact at all, let alone they say forcible contact. That certainly wasn't forcible contact in any way, shape, or form to any part of Marvin Harrison Jr.'s body.
Going back to that Ravens-Buccaneers game, I knew this stat was, I don't know, just mind-boggling, but I didn't know it was this mind-boggling. Lamar Jackson is now 23-1 against NFC teams. I knew he had a gaudy record against NFC teams. I thought it was something like 13-1 or something. 23-1 against NFC teams.
I said last night, you just got to get to the Super Bowl. If he gets to the Super Bowl, he's going to win.
Yes.
He's just got to get to the Super Bowl. He can't get there. His problem is beating the AFC teams in the playoffs to get there. But once he does that, it's pretty much a lock. The dude doesn't lose to NFC teams.
That's nuts, man. 23-1. Wow. All right, switching gears. College basketball. AP preseason All-American men's basketball team was released yesterday. There's actually 6 players on this 5-man team because there was a tie for that last spot. On the team, near unanimous, I believe, Mark Sears from Alabama. Memphis will play Alabama 1 week from tonight in Huntsville in their second and final exhibition game. We'll see if Mark Sears can play because another guy on the AP preseason All-American team did not play in the Tigers' first exhibition game, and that's UNC's R.J. Davis. Kansas's Hunter Dickinson, yep, he's still playing college basketball. He's on the team. Auburn's Janai Broom, and then the tie, Arizona's Caleb Love, and Duke freshman Cooper Flagg. So they tie for the 5th spot. That's your AP preseason All-American men's basketball team. College football and some of the odds for this week's Memphis has been installed as an 18.
That Alabama game has a week from yesterday.
Oh, I'm thinking today's Monday. Sorry. Yeah, week from yesterday. Thank you for the clarification. Memphis installed as an 18.5-point favorite over the Fighting Charlotte Pogies.
Charlotte's not very good.
Biff Poggi and his cut-off sweatshirt will be in town this Saturday. Memphis, 18.5-point favorite. In the SEC, Ole Miss, a 20.5-point favorite over Oklahoma. I saw this stat earlier. Let me see if I wrote it down somewhere about Oklahoma as far as being this type of a dog. It hasn't happened in, where is it? I can't find it. But needless to say, for Oklahoma, this is a rarity to be an underdog by this many points. Ole Miss coming off the bye. We're going to talk about Ole Miss, Oklahoma with Brad Logan coming up in just a moment, but they're 20.5-point favorites.
Well, like I said, like Connor said earlier, I mean, Oklahoma obviously struggling offensively, couldn't block South Carolina's defensive line. Ole Miss is a pretty darn good defensive line. It could be another long day at the office for that Oklahoma offensive line.
Arkansas, Mississippi State from Stark Vegas. Arkansas, 7-point favorite on the road against Jeff Lebby's team. Missouri and Alabama. Alabama, 13.5-point favorite over Mizzou. Vandy and Texas. Texas, an 18.5-point favorite over the Doors, who are trying to shock the world again and in the process pick up a 6th win, which would make them bowl eligible. I know I brought it up 2 weeks ago with Harold, who joins us every Thursday for the AutoZone Liberty Bowl Inside College Football Hour. I firmly believe that if Vanderbilt can get the 6, and their best chance is probably Auburn on the Plains, but that's a road game. South Carolina at home. South Carolina's Jekyll and Hyde. They play great. Sometimes they don't. The other games are going to be really tough. Tennessee, Georgia, and this week, Texas. But if they get the 6, I think you can mark it down. They'll be in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl game. That's my bet. What do you think?
I'm sure there'd be a good chance that that's where they will get placed.
Although, do you think that, like, they're kind of they're a real fun story this year with a fun quarterback? I wonder if any bowl just ahead of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl will think, you know what, Vanderbilt will be fun. Let's bring them in.
But it's not their choice. I mean, it's the conference placing these teams, so they're.
That's right. It's not the choice. You're right. Auburn, Kentucky. Kentucky, a 2.5-point favorite over Auburn. And then the big one, and it's weird to say the big one without it being Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, but the 2 undefeateds that remain in conference play, LSU and Texas A&M, who are both 6-1 overall, they meet in College Station. Texas A&M, a 2.5-point favorite. So there you go.
Should be a good one.
I think it'll be really good.
I mean, that's two teams. I think just to see kind of where those two are. Obviously, the winner of that game has a great track to the conference championship game.
Yeah, no question.
For A&M, it's basically just Texas down the road, but they could get to a point where the game against Texas may not matter for them. It could end up being that they know they're going to be playing a rematch the following week regardless if things worked out correctly.
Yeah, that's true. Jenkins Floors and More, third-hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings. They specialize in flooring and carpeting, and if it's variety you're looking for, they have it for you. Family-owned and operated local business. They're located at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. It's a short drive from anywhere in the metropolitan Memphis area. They also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, and in Little Rock. SPC, WPC vinyls, which are the top-of-the-line scratch-resistant and waterproof vinyls. Ceramic and porcelain tiles. Hardwoods by Portercraft. Carpeting from Southern Luxury Carpet. They sell at wholesale. Skip the middleman. Save you lots of money in the process for both residential and commercial. So contractors, do-it-yourself homeowners, this is the place to buy your material. But if you want Jenkins to do it for you, they will, and they'll do so with an unheard-of 2-week turnaround. Let them come to you and show you what it's all about. Give you a free estimate, show you the different samples. Again, they will come to you. Just contact them at 662-469-9350. Tell them you heard it here on Sports 56 Mornings. All military and first responders, you get 10% off. Sports 56 listeners, ask about your family discount. It's Jenkins Floors and More, 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake, with stores also in Cleveland, Mississippi, and Little Rock, Arkansas. Jenkins Floors and More.
If LSU wins this weekend, they've got one road game remaining after that. That's at Florida. Then they've got Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma at home. So,
it's hard to
with where Alabama is right now. Like, that looks like a pretty easy path for LSU.
It does, although expect the unexpected in college football and in particular this league. Brian Kelly, I think, is a great coach, but who would have thunk it the year after losing the Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels to play the way they're playing? And Nussmeier has been absolutely incredible. All right, when we come back, it's all about Ole Miss and Oklahoma. Brad Logan will join us. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
For life's spectacular moments, only a real diamond will do. At Sissy's Log Cabin, you'll discover a brilliant selection of natural diamonds, along with our promise of unmatched quality and service. The only real diamond is a natural diamond from Sissy's. Find yours when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com. Discover the natural diamond of your dreams only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
It's October at Sunrise Chevrolet GMC of Columbia. Introduce two grand openings with 820 more Chevy Silverado 1500 LT or 20 more GMC Sierra from the Sunrise Chevrolet GMC of Columbia. We know it's fun to buy a car.
Price plus tax, title, and license. Price includes $899.50 processing fee. Silverado R124 8261. MSRP $60,600. Dealer incentive $5151. Customer cash $3,000. Bonus cash $1750. Sierra RZ 321564. MSRP $87,500. Dealer incentive $7,000. Purchase allowance $2750. Expires 10/31/24.
I'm at a smoothie bar asking people if they'd switch smoothies with me for $574.
Oh, I'll switch.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
That's a headache.
Nope, it's painless.
Oh, so it's easy money.
Yep, check Allstate first and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
Don't do it.
Don't do what?
Don't do another Halloween spot for Central Barbecue.
But it's October. Doing a Halloween spot for Central Barbecue is a tradition.
But it doesn't make it a good thing.
Nothing else happens in October.
Baseball?
Not if you're a Cardinals fan. What else you got?
National Candy Corn Day.
No Central Barbecue connection.
Fair point. How about Make a Difference Day?
That's to encourage people to do something constructive for the world.
And going to Central Barbecue isn't?
I'm telling you, it's got to be Halloween.
There's no other choice, I guess.
Hey, Zeke.
Yeah.
This year, give the kiddies ribs on Halloween. They love that.
Seriously, next year, something new.
I got him on the line right now, Marty McNade over at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown. Hey, what's happening, dude?
I'm going back in time, Randy, with 0% for 60 months on all 2024 Tiguan's. When's the last time you've heard that?
It's been a while, Marty. Hey, what else you got?
I've got all Peak Edition Atlases at $5,000 off MSRP.
That's awesome. Every Peak Edition Atlas, $5,000 off MSRP.
Or take your pick from 2024 Taos SE or 2024 Jetta SE, $289 a month.
2024 Taos SE or 2024 Jetta SE, $289 a month. Great Scott McNade, you do got it going on at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown.
As for me, Marty McNade at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown, and remember, your future is what you make of it.
Get out here and see us, 7420 Winchester Road, or shop online, GossipVWG.com. Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour brought to you by James Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
So John Rothstein tweets, and Jason Munz has confirmed that Tyreek Smith is at practice today. So,
that's why I said to people.
So apparently they got it resolved.
Yeah. Be cautious when you go out on a limb and say he's left the program. He's gone. Now they'll backtrack and they'll say, well, he had left, but now he's. Yeah, he never left the program. They just had to figure out financially what the situation was and get it fixed. So. No harm, no foul. Tyreek Smith still with the Tigers. Real quick before we bring our friend Brad Logan on the show, quick trivia question, Elijah. You can jump in on this. Got to be quick. I'm not going to give you a lot of time on this. Only 2 teams still have not trailed in a game this season. Only 1 team has not led in a game this season in college football. 2 teams have not trailed. 1 team has not led. Any guesses?
Is
Army?
Indiana one of those teams that have never trailed? Indiana?
You are correct, and you are correct.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say with Indiana and Army. And I'm going to
Indiana and Army.
And I'm going to say Kennesaw State has not led.
No, they have.
Or then Kent State.
Good job, Eli. Good job, Elijah. Way to go. Time now to talk some Ole Miss football. We do so with our good buddy Brad Logan, contributor to Inside the Rebels on 247 Sports and Max South Sports. Also the Believe in Ole Miss podcast host and the Red Blue Crew podcast co-host. He's everywhere. Very busy man, and he joins us now on Sports 56 Mornings. You can follow Brad on Twitter at Brad Logan, COTE. Brad, how are you?
I'm doing well. Gentlemen, thanks for having me on today.
Hey, thanks for joining us. How healthy are the Rebels after the bye week going into this game Saturday against Oklahoma?
Well, that's a really good question. And, normally, Lane Kiffin has been pretty adamant that analytics are looked at to where, you don't want to have a bye week after a loss. But he was pretty open on the Monday press availability yesterday and basically saying they really enjoyed a bye week, and I think a lot of that was to get some players off the injury shelf, and a couple of those players on the offensive line are going to be coming back, and I expect Jeremy James and Caleb Warren to possibly start for Ole Miss against Oklahoma on Saturday. Also some news, too, gentlemen, that I didn't really expect. Jaden Williams, who's been dealing with a knee injury, Lane was pretty open about it by saying he expects him back this season, and that was very surprising to me. So that was a starting left tackle from last year that injured his knee against Kentucky. The offensive line's been kind of patchwork the last couple of weeks, and to get a selected 5 to be able to go would be huge for Ole Miss, and so I think that's kind of where everybody's looking at. Obviously, Greg, the number one injury that everyone's looking at is Trey Harris.
Mm-hmm. Right.
From everything we understand, it's a hip/growing injury, but from everything that we've been able to accumulate, he should be able to go on Saturday. How much he's able to be able to go remains to be seen. If you'll remember, against Kentucky, he injured that ankle once again. So he's been kind of banged up, but he's one of the best receivers in the country, and he's definitely someone that Jackson Dart has been eyeing on the last, I guess all season. He's a terrific receiver, and he definitely is a decision maker or someone that makes a big difference maker, I should say, in this Ole Miss offense. And so if he cannot go, expect to see Caden Lee, Jordan Watkins, and then you would hope, if you're Ole Miss, to see Caden Preschool in the tight end, the transfer from Memphis, to take a bigger step in this offense, someone we've not seen be a focal point all season long.
Yeah, have we heard any more from his wife?
She's very, very vocal on social channels. Yeah, I mean, she's pretty vocal. She wants her husband to get the football. And, that's something that Ole Miss fans have really enjoyed. It started off, funny you say that, Eli. I will say this. It started off a bit of a situation to where she was chronicling the season with their son at different games. And then she would kind of throw it to daddy every now and then. And then all of a sudden it just become a thing to where she's like, throw my husband the ball, whatever. But no, she it's very vocal on social channels. And I think she's speaking, honestly, gentlemen, from a lot of Ole Miss's fans' standpoint. They want to see Caden Preschool and get the football. And, Daquan Wright, the transfer for Virginia Tech, has come in and played really well for Ole Miss. And so that's limited Caden even more. But I think everyone's seen that picture floating around against LSU when he's kind of hanging out, no one within 30 yards of him, and Jackson Darts just didn't see him. So they definitely need Caden Preschool to take a step forward. And I say this every week, so I'm going to say it again this week. This feels like a week for Caden Preschool to break out. So eventually it'll happen.
On a limb there, right?
I don't know if Ulysses Bentley IV is married and has a vocal wife or not. The situation, why suddenly in the LSU game was he back getting carries?
This is not an answer that you or the listeners probably would like me to say, but I frankly don't know. We've asked until we're blue in the face. We do not have the opportunity to ask Kevin Smith, the running back coach. But the reason he played against LSU was because Henry Parrish Jr. went down with an injury. Mm-hmm. Matt Jones was out. So he was the only option other than Dominic Thomas. And Thomas is, I believe, maybe a service team running back, or if he was recruited, he wasn't very highly recruited. At the end of the day, they were somewhat forced to, but, he doesn't need a wife or a child on his behalf on social channels. He's got about 200,000 Ole Miss fans on social media screaming for him to get into the game. So, and what's he do when he gets in the game? He runs 47 some odd yards or whatever for a touchdown. So
I didn't understand
he's
that.
a really good running back. Yeah, I don't understand that Eli and Greg, why he is not playing more, but he will see a vocal point. He will see a focal point of the offense, I expect, for the remainder of the year, simply because he's just a really good running back, and we don't know why he hasn't played.
Yeah, we talked about, I remember having you on the show. We previewed the season. Yeah. We talked about Bentley. I mean, I think you mentioned, Parrish is going to obviously get his, but Bentley was going to be a focal point, and all of a sudden he wasn't. So that's very strange as well. Okay, Brad Logan joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. So now the Rebs have kind of put themselves against the wall, obviously, with the 2 losses, and winning outright, which would include a win over Georgia. I think that would get it into the playoff, but there can't be another mistake. And obviously, like I said, you're going to have to beat the Georgia Bulldogs. So it's not going to be an easy task to get to where they hoped to get to before the season started, and that's the 12-team playoff.
Absolutely not. And you made the best point that you could possibly make, and that Ole Miss has its back against the wall. Look, Lane Kiffin's always going to make the sentiments that it's a pro-style culture and, pro mindset and that sort of thing. And he always talks about you can only win the game in front of you. I think in large part there's a lot of good in that, but I think you have to be able to look at this from 10,000 feet and say there are a couple of things that you really need to happen if you're Ole Miss. The most important thing for Ole Miss is to win every game in front of you, and that's obviously going to include, if they do that, a win over Georgia. The remainder of the teams, right now on paper, they're not very good. There's Oklahoma, there's Arkansas, there's Florida, and then there is Mississippi State. None of those teams are very good football teams. So you don't have that going for you in regards to an RPI or whatever, FPI standpoint, whatever ESPN puts out. The key for Ole Miss is they need LSU to continue to win, and they need Georgia to continue to win, with the exception of its date against Ole Miss in a couple of weeks. And at that point, you're hoping for chaos. And so far, the college football world has provided chaos for all of us to enjoy. Now, from an Ole Miss standpoint, obviously, you need a lot of people in the upper echelons of the SEC. And so far, we've seen Arkansas beat Tennessee. We've seen Georgia lose Alabama. We've seen Vandy beat Alabama. Just stuff that's just, if we talked about that in preseason, you and I would say, okay, Brad, what have you been drinking? Because there's no way Vandy loses to Alabama. But as long as there's chaos and Ole Miss can somehow roll the dice at 10-2, there's a chance. I don't know how big of a chance that is. I think we'll know in a couple of weeks how good of a chance Ole Miss has to make the college football playoff with a 10-2 record. But I do believe there is a path there. What happens with Missouri, once again with Tennessee, LSU, there's so many teams in the fold here. With Georgia, there's only so many teams that from the SEC are going to make the college football playoff. You're really hoping that teams like Missouri, Tennessee, programs, Alabama, that you don't play, continue to lose so they self-eliminate. Mm-hmm. And then for Ole Miss, you have to continue to win. Honestly, gentlemen, when I was on the field and Kentucky converted the pass from Vandegrift to Berry and Brown, and they got the fourth down play and they win the game, I thought to myself, this feels like a season-defining loss for Ole Miss. And it's going to be, whether they make the playoff or not, it's going to somewhat define the season. I think if you're Ole Miss and you look back at that game, Kentucky has really faltered since they beat Ole Miss. So that is not good for Ole Miss's psyche, and it's not good for Ole Miss's, FPI or whatever you want to call it, RPI, the strength of schedule. But at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control, and that obviously is against an Oklahoma team that this line opened up, I think, at 19 and a half. It's already up to 21 and a half after Brent Venables fires his offensive coordinator. Came out on his radio show yesterday, and Jackson Arnold will get the start on Saturday. I think we'll see both quarterbacks. But this is just not a very good football team, and I think for Ole Miss, it's a great opportunity to kind of gird your loins, if you will, and create and kind of get that momentum going for the Georgia game in a couple of weeks. But don't count out Arkansas. I mean, Ole Miss plays horrible in Fayetteville, and that's coming up a week from Saturday. So a lot of water to cross under the bridge. Here's the thing. I just don't know how good Ole Miss is. I mean, we haven't really seen them, play up to their standards. They beat LSU everywhere but the scoreboard in the first half and really for the first three quarters of the last minute of the game, but they don't win the game, and that was pivotal for Ole Miss. They have to continue to put a full game together, and I think they can do that. They can be really good. We just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that Arkansas game. That next week with Georgia on the horizon, going on the road, Arkansas certainly has shown itself capable of beating good teams. Like that one could be a dangerous one. What's the feeling right now? If Florida does end up making the move with Napier, is there the thought that Kiffin could leave for Florida?
I think that's always in the back of the mind from Ole Miss fans, but this loss to LSU, compounded with the loss to Kentucky, doesn't help the shine around Lane Kiffin. Now, I'm not here to say that Lane Kiffin has lost all of his cachet that he's built up from the Ole Miss fans, but it took a hit 2 weeks ago or this past Saturday or whenever the Saturday was they lost LSU. And obviously, Lane coming in as head coach at Ole Miss in his fifth season had only lost 2 games in which he was a home favorite. And then and that was the Arkansas game and then the game against Mississippi State. So he's done really well as a favorite and up until this year. And he's always won the games that he was supposed to win. And if chalk would have stayed firm, Ole Miss only loses 1 game this year, and that's to Georgia. Maybe 2, depending on what the line would have been against LSU. But that's why they always say you can't play it on paper. And specifically for Ole Miss this year, it hasn't gone to chalk. So what does that mean? Well, it just means that Ole Miss, as Lane pointed out on Monday, in years past, we win those games. In years past, Jackson makes the throw. We make the kick. And the game is not 2017 against Kentucky. They go the length of the field after the fourth down to Caden Freescorn. They score a touchdown, final score 24-20. The same thing goes for LSU. They score, it's 27-0 going into the half, but it's not. It's 17-13 against LSU going into the half. They left so many points on the field with a fumble, a 4th and 1, and then an interception in the end zone. So those things have just been problematic for Ole Miss. They have not been able to close games, and that's something that we'll be looking forward to on Saturday to see what's the psyche of this team, because another loss, the season is over.
Yeah.
Right now, the season's not over. It could be over. We won't know until the end of the year. But another loss, and it's definitely over. And where's the team going to be then? I think. But right now, they have something to play for, and it's just a.
Oh, what happened?
We lost him.
We lost Brad. Somebody from Ole Miss did not like what he was about to say.
Season's over, and the call is over.
I was going to ask him one final question about, and this is, again, looking into the crystal ball. Let's see if we can get him on so I can ask him this question. If not, we certainly thank Brad for joining us here on the program. But my question, let's see if we got him. We got him, Elijah? No? All right, we're still trying to get him. Tomorrow, by the way, on the program, Jerry Palm will join us from CBS Sports. DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal on the Grizzlies will be joining us from Salt Lake City. And Parth Upadhyay on the Memphis Tigers. May have another guest or two, as well as we always have the possibility of some special guests that join us here on the show. Let me bring Brad on for one final question. Let's see. Brad, I thought it was maybe an upset Ole Miss fan that was coming at you and took you out.
I hear you, but real quickly, just to finish up the thought, I just think it's important to Ole Miss to put a complete game together, and this is a good opportunity on Saturday.
Yeah, there's no question. And just real quick, I was going to say, look, a lot of things can happen. Hopefully, for Ole Miss's sake, they go on the run, they beat Georgia, because I think they'll be in the playoffs if that's the case. But if they do lose another, they're done. How do you think the season will be defined if they do not make the postseason, do not make the playoff, rather, when they were certainly expected to be right there for the playoffs this year?
Quite frankly, I think, Greg, it will be deemed not a success. Heading into the season, either the last dance that has the hashtag from Jackson Dart, speaking with Jordan Watkins at the beginning of the year, he was very open by saying, we have aspirations of a national championship. The way the Grove Collective has stepped up to the plate financially, Walker Jones, obviously in conjunction with the Ole Miss Athletic Department, the Vault Society, everything just kind of hinged on this season. And I think everyone will kind of look back at that Kentucky game. I keep coming back to that, but it just feels like that the players, the coaches, and everyone, and to the fans to a certain extent, just kind of rolled the ball out and said, it's just Kentucky. We'll take care of them. Obviously, that didn't happen. So the back's against the wall early on. But I do think if it ends at 10-2 or 9-3, maybe you lose against Georgia and you go to the Outback Bowl or whatever the bowl is, I don't think it will be deemed a success at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was at that Kentucky game, and the mood in the Grove after that game, just said it all. Like, everybody was like, it's over. Like, we just lost to Kentucky. Like, this isn't even a good Kentucky team. We just lost to them at home. We put up 17 points against Kentucky. Like, that game will be just looked at as the utter failure of this season if the season ends up being the failure.
Completely agree. But the good news, and Greg just mentioned it, if Ole Miss can beat Georgia, and I do think if they play their A game, they can beat Georgia, and they can beat the remaining 4 teams on their schedule, and they can finish 10-2. And as Greg pointed out, if they make the playoff, you wash away the Kentucky game to a certain extent.
Absolutely. Brad, enjoy the game. Always enjoy having you on. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Brad. You know what's funny? You were there, so you felt and saw and heard the whole kind of collective, the wind come out of the sails. But they weren't done after the Kentucky loss. They were still, I think they were still in good shape. Losing the game at LSU, which they dominated, was the one right now that's put them on ice for temporarily. Again, it's not over yet for them. I think they rattle off 5 straight, which would include the win over Georgia. I think they'll get in. I think they'll be in the playoffs. But one more, of course, one of the other 4, which would be Oklahoma, Arkansas, Florida, and, of course, the Egg Bowl. You can't lose the Egg Bowl, right? That would be a disaster. Losing to Georgia, it wouldn't be a disaster, but you are playing them at home, and I think a win over Georgia, assuming you don't fall to any of these other teams, you're getting in. I believe so.
Yeah, I think at 10-2 they got a great chance. But again, that what people, when they lost the Kentucky game, were looking ahead going, wait, we still have to play at LSU at night.
Started doubting
we
the
got to
team.
play Georgia. And we just put up 17 points against a bad Kentucky team. We're not going to win all these games.
Right. By the way, did you hear what Brad said? He was talking about the Grove Collective. He goes, the Grove Collective in consultation with the Ole Miss athletic department. So again, going back to what we had, that conversation about Tyreek Smith, just crazy stuff, right? You're supposed to have consultation with the department, with the coaching staff. Are you not? Is it different in Mississippi than it is in Tennessee? I don't know what's going on.
Mid-South Ag Equipment for all your equipment needs. Go see the folks at Mid-South Ag with the Case IH Farmall series of tractors, bush hog equipment, and much, much more, whether it be new equipment, whether it be pre-owned equipment, whether you need service on your equipment. Folks at Mid-South Ag, they are the experts, that's for sure. They've been doing it a long, long time. 3044 Highway 302. It's Goodman Road just south of Collierville. Easy to get to off of I-269. You take the Goodman Road exit, and they're just a half mile west. Very simple to find the folks at Mid-South Ag Equipment. You can also find them easily online by going to midsouthag.com. Online, you can check out special deals they've got going on. You can check out inventory of that pre-owned equipment and see everything they've got going on at Mid-South Ag Equipment. The phone number, 662-890-3141. They are Mid-South Ag Equipment.
The NBA season begins tonight. NBA rosters are set. I got some interesting numbers to pass along when we return in our final segment. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
It's here, Genesis Diamonds, the largest ever sale in luxury. You can't miss this special 2 this Friday and Saturday. During this event, you can take advantage of special pricing, so you don't just buy and take a stunning selection of luxury diamonds, hundreds plus Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsi, hottest model Rolex watches that you can't find anywhere else. Luxury premium Rolexes are in pristine, light new condition, some just out of the box. Price to sell this event. Purchase a luxury premium Rolex visit Genesis Extended.
Choosing the right candidates for any office can be difficult.
My office has lots of drama.
I share my office. But no matter what kind of office you have, if you're hiring, you need ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology finds the most qualified candidates for your roles fast. So, for any kind of office.
I'm really going places in my office.
Count on ZipRecruiter to find the right candidates for it. Try ZipRecruiter for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
They're taking care of beerness in Memphis right on the river with Grind City Brewing and all of their great products. Look, this was a dream come true for a father and son duo. And if you have not been to that brewery right on the river, just to the north of downtown, you're really missing something special. And now you can't miss their products. Wherever you go, you see a brand new label. It's clean, it's beautiful, it's distinctive. You'll know Grind City Brewing, and of course you know their products like Poppy's Pills, that great Pilsner, or Tiger Tail, that very creative craft malt liquor. There's the new Thaddeus Amber Lager. That is absolutely a great light beer. There's the India Pale called Godhopper. It's outstanding. And then there's the Belga, the Belgian-style wheat ale. They keep bringing hits at Grind City Brewing.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56
If you missed our thoughts about the Tyreek Smith / Boog Knight / NIL situation, we did that in hour number 2. We talked a lot about it. We took some of your calls and texts. You could always check out the Sports 56 Mornings podcast on our website, sportsmemphis.com. Go back and listen to the show, but specifically hour number 2, we break it down hourly on the website, so you can check out what we had to say about that. If you missed it, John Rothstein first reported, and then followed up by Jason Munz, Parthu Pajai, that Tyreek Smith is back at practice.
Got a text on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 360-825. Found him at Lamar Jackson. Says, Lamar beats the NFC teams because they don't play him enough to know how to play him like AFC teams.
Well, whatever it is, it's a gaudy record, 23-1 against NFC teams. But he needs to get over the hump. I know it's a team sport, but he has to lead his team, I think, to get into the Super Bowl. And it's not the easiest thing to do when you're talking about some of those AFC teams, which includes Kansas City. But he's 2-4 in his career in the postseason. He's possibly going to win a third MVP award. 3 MVPs. But you have to do something in the postseason. That's how you're looked back at from what you do in the postseason, what you do as far as winning championships. Yeah, individually, he's an unbelievable, electric player. Not too many like him that have ever played that sport. But you got to lead your team to some accomplishments, or it's all for naught.
Jerry Jones today making one of his radio appearances. This with the people that he got mad at last week, talking about Derrick Henry. I don't know if he'd be having a career year in our situation. We don't run that type of offense at all. That says a lot.
I know. How about altering your offense to include somebody like that to showcase his talents?
Went and signed Zeke Elliott back, and
your boy Rico Dowdle, the big.
You think that Derrick Henry wouldn't have fit? Let me tell you this, Jerry. If you had a chance to sign Derrick Henry, and you need to change the offense for him, then you just fire Mike McCarthy and bring somebody else in to run an offense that would fit Derrick Henry.
When was the last time the Cowboys were in the Super Bowl?
Is there any chance that...
Come on, when?
It was in the 90s.
Enough said.
Is there any chance that Aaron Rodgers wants to reunite with Mike McCarthy, too? If they're putting the band back together, can he please beg them to hire Mike McCarthy as their head coach?
Yeah, take him.
He doesn't have to beg. He's just got to go ask. They'll do everything he asks. So all he's going to do is say, I want Mike McCarthy as head coach. They'll hire Mike McCarthy. Please.
Take him off your hands, right?
Aaron, please go ask for Mike McCarthy as your head coach.
Take him off your hands. Look what Dan Quinn is doing now as the head coach of the Washington Commanders. They lose that DC. They bring in Zimmer, who, yes, at times in his career was really good as a DC, and he was a former head coach. But I don't know, the injuries, whatever the case is, they're bad on that side as well. NBA, opening night tonight, 2 games. We talked about it earlier. You have the Knicks and the defending champion Celtics at 6:30 TNT. Timberwolves, Lakers, 9 o'clock TNT. Also the final year for the TNT basketball. So that means the final year for Ernie and Shaq and Barkley and Kenny Smith. It'll be interesting to see how many times they reference to like a deal not getting done or something like that. But here you go. The rosters are set for the 24-25 NBA season. The NBA announced there are 125 international players on opening night rosters. Think about that. 125. You talk about it being a global sport and why it's so much harder for players from this country, from the United States, to make it in the NBA. They have to go internationally to find a place to get a paycheck. For the 11th consecutive season, Canada is the most represented country outside of the U.S. with 21 players, followed by France, Australia, Germany, and Serbia with 6 each. There are 61 European players on opening night rosters, including 4 members of the 23-24 All-NBA team. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, and Domantas Sabonis.
So the top players in the league, a lot of international flavor at the very top.
Oh, my gosh. And that's why you look at a guy like we were talking about Armando Bacot, who will probably be on the hustle. The guy played, what did he end up playing, 4 years, 5 years, whatever it was in North Carolina, but was a double-double machine, points, rebounds. And like not even a chance right now to make it into the NBA. And there are other players of his ilk that have gone on to play internationally to pick up a big paycheck because they can't make, they're not good enough in the NBA because there's just not as many spots as there used to be.
This weekend, Friday and Saturday at Genesis Diamonds, it's their biggest sale ever on their luxury pre-owned Rolex watches. And these pre-owned Rolexes, they're pristine. They're like new. Some are just out of the box. All going to be priced to sell. Special pricing, zero interest financing that you could take advantage of with this huge event going on Friday and Saturday. And if you purchase any of those luxury pre-owned Rolex watches at this event, they'll give you a pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings absolutely free, a $3,000 value. You just can't beat the deals, can't beat that deal. And maybe you already have a Rolex that you're looking to get rid of. Well, their buyers will be on site offering top dollar for your watch. So not only can you buy, not only can you sell, you could trade as well. However you want to do it, whatever you want to do. That's this Friday and Saturday, the huge Rolex event going on. Genesis Diamonds, Poplar, and Perkins Extended.
That'll do it for us today on this Tuesday edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Want to thank Connor O'Gara and Brad Logan for joining us on the show. As I mentioned earlier, tomorrow, Jerry Palm at 8:25, DeMichael Cole on the Grizzlies. Opening night tomorrow night in Salt Lake City against the Utah Jazz, and Parth Upadhyay on the Memphis Tigers basketball team. It seems like for the moment the drama is over as, again, according to reports, Tyreek Smith has returned, if he ever left for that long anyway, has returned to the Tigers basketball program. Well Known Friends on Sports 56 is coming up next for Eli Savoy and for Elijah Seegers. I'm Greg Gaston. Have a great Tuesday, everybody.